agenda. So it's now 7:03. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We can say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sherry, would you like to take the roll call?
Sherry Ockery, here. Jeff Karen.
Here.
Jay Edwards.
Here.
Thomas Haley.
Here.
Ruth Hollenbach.
Present.
Deborah Janik.
Present.
Jennifer Jocelyn.
Present.
Justin LaCroix.
Present.
Brendan McNally.
Present.
Jennifer Rashley. Joseph Souza.
Present.
Thank you. Settled in, Justin. If anyone would like public comment, to make public comments, now is the time where it's open to public comment. So if anyone would like to come forward, that's good. No one? Okay. Last call? Okay, so we'll close the public comment now then. Move on to number 5, item number 5, which is the approval of minutes from January 24, 2019.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from January 24, 2019.
I second that.
Any corrections or edits on that one?
I do, on page 3,
Hold on, let me get page 3. Okay.
and under the landfill closure testing engineering,
Yeah.
the second to last line, it's reading, he, I think this is Jan's words, is 99.9% convinced that the state will, and I believe it should be not allow.
Not allowed, okay.
That's the only one I found.
Good.
Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
Any other edits? Okay, can we have a vote to approve these minutes?
As amended.
As amended. As amended. All in favor?
Right?
I think it's unanimous.
I'm just abstaining because I wasn't.
Okay, and Justin McClure
Justin's
abstaining.
abstaining,
yeah.
I think I was.
Okay.
Justin's listed as being here, though.
Oh.
He was, this was for the 24th, Justin. This was
Oh,
for,
okay,
yeah,
right.
we have like 4 to go through. So did you want to vote?
Yeah, I'll vote.
Okay. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't at the 20, which was the 26th?
We're doing that next.
You, yeah,
Police?
you came for part of
Oh,
it.
I should make a motion to approve the minutes for the 26th then. Thank you.
Second. Any edits or comments for that police department visit? That's a simple form. Could we have a vote? All in favor of approving the minutes from the police station?
One there.
So abstain?
Yeah.
Jay, and abstain, Tom?
Who?
Tom Healy and Jay Edwards abstaining, and Brendan and Jeff.
Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, hold on, let me make sure I get everybody, okay, so it was
Jay was not there,
Jay, okay.
so abstain. Need another column.
No, I have Jay.
Good.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
And then Jen,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Me.
Tom Healy.
and Tom Hale, okay, got it.
Which one are we looking at right now? January 26th?
The next one, that was
We just did
26th,
that
yeah.
one. Okay.
So we're now on number 7, approval of minutes from January 31, 2019.
I'll move to approve the minutes from January 31, 2019.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or edits?
Just to comment that Brendan commented on brevity, and we all note that those were briefer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. One item here that's just the page numbers, it's referencing 3 of 4, and there's only, I think, only 3
Yes.
pages, small.
And that,
that one?
Waiting if you agree.
Oh, yeah,
Are we
okay.
all set?
So-
Is that the only correction?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Could we have a vote? All those in favor?
It was the motion as amended, right?
Yeah.
As amended, as amended.
I'll abstain from that.
And Justin LaCroy abstains.
I abstain as well.
And Jen Jocelyn
No one
abstains.
opposed, right?
No one opposed. And now we're on number 8, approval of minutes from February 2, 2019. It's a,
I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 2nd, 2019.
Second?
that was the fire station visit. It's a very brief minutes. Any comments or corrections?
Just one
Just
correction.
Jeff's name there. It's J-E-G-G.
I wasn't there.
Yep.
Okay, take the name out.
I
She
understand.
says absent, but it's just spelled wrong, that's all.
I need it to be added to the absent list as well.
Who, Jen?
Me?
Okay.
Should it be removed from the other list, or just add?
No, I just don't exist.
Maybe I need 2 pairs of glasses.
It's a horrible place to be.
Let's see.
All
right,
set,
I'm gonna
Sherry,
put
you
Jocelyn.
okay?
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments? Could we have a vote? As amended,
amended.
with a few minor amendments. All those in favor? And then let's raise hands for abstains. Any
Okay.
abstentions? Okay,
You get
4.
that?
Yeah.
Jay, Justin, LaCroy, Jeff, and Jen Jocelyn. Okay,
And opposed? No one's opposed.
no.
Well, I think that was a world record.
Well, it was, we all got the memo from Jeff that we're trying to be efficient, so that's part of what we did. We all did our homework, I think, ahead of time, so that was good. Thanks, Jeff. Number 9 was discussion of and preliminary vote on street lighting budget. Jan, you're up.
May I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Is it possible to actually jump to the planning board and following boards and commissions, since people are here, and maybe we should not keep them waiting longer than they have to.
Sure, we can do that. Is just question, is Rick here?
Rick is not yet here.
Okay, and he's not here, so that would make sense.
That's another reason.
He's coming as far as you know, though, right? He's coming, okay.
So why don't, just to talk about mechanics with Ruth, why don't I, since you were going to do
Yeah.
down to around 12, where are we?
We're on 9.
12, right?
9.
Why don't I do 13, we'll go on, and we'll jump back at some point. Want to do that? And you can
Sounds-
take over
yeah,
and
that's fine.
do some
That's
mechanics
fine.
too?
That's fine.
Great. So I guess we'll need a motion to jump ahead in the agenda. Could I have a motion to jump ahead to
I'll make that motion.
Planning
To
Board
jump
number
ahead.
13?
Yes, I'll move to number 13.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? It's unanimous, great. Planning Board, I think that would be Jan and Sue Gill. Thank you very much. And somebody else.
My name is Lisi Gescheit, I'm chair of the zoning board.
Oh, hi, how are
I
you?
thought I should have crashed the party.
Okay, come crash the party.
Sorry, what was your last name? Sorry?
Gescheit,
Okay.
Gescheidt.
Thank you.
Can you spell that one more time?
Sure, Gescheidt.
Okay.
And the first name is Lise.
And you're the chair?
Yes,
Is it chair or president? Chair.
chair.
Do you know everyone here?
I know no one here.
I think Sue probably. Okay, let's just go around quick.
I know her and I know him.
Okay, let's go. We're supposed to go around real quick since you're at the table. Go.
Joe Souza.
Hi,
Justin LaCroix.
hi.
Jerry Edwards.
Nice to meet you.
Tom Haley.
Hi.
Ruth Hollenbach.
Jeff Karen.
Sherry Ockley.
Brendan McNally.
Hi.
Jennifer Rashley.
Deb Janik?
Jen Jocelyn. Thank you.
Great, so I will let I guess Sue or Jan, take it away.
Well, let me quickly, because I don't think the zoning board is actually on the agenda. It probably should have been. It's a one-line item piece, and I don't think there's going to be necessarily any questions or concerns, but I just wanted to mention
Is
that.
it a one-liner?
Yep,
Okay, well, we could take a motion and add it.
Okay,
if
that would
we're
be a
gonna
good
address
thing
it.
to
I didn't
do.
realize we were going to address it, right?
Sometimes we don't vote on them.
Okay, as long as
Right, we can discuss.
anything.
Is everyone comfortable with that, or just because someone's here? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to add to the agenda, and we'll call it 13.5 for purposes. We'll do the planning board first, and then we'll take it as 13.5, so to speak, which will be the zoning board of review. Would that be proper?
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of our interests are very similar.
Sure, but I want to just, we have a checklist, and so
I
I think the zoning board of review, my charter.
That's, yeah.
Okay,
that's-
so I'll entertain a motion to add to the agenda discussion, I won't say a preliminary vote, a discussion of zoning board of review budget.
I'll second it.
No, I need a
Oh,
motion.
you need, okay, I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Okay, great. No one's opposed.
Unanimous.
Unanimous, I assume, right? Okay, so that's 13.5 for anyone taking records here, we call it that. Great, so you're going to be next. So now we'll start over. We'll start with Sue?
Okay.
Great,
All right.
thank you,
So
Sue.
I'm Susan Gill, the chairman of the planning board. Right now, we only have one line item, which is 7155, which is the subdivision regulation amendment advertising. I don't know if you all received the packet that I submitted.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason I submitted that was I just wanted you all to be able to see that we're a very active board. It shows the annual report that we submitted to the council last month. See that we do minor subdivisions, major subdivisions, commercial, major land developments, and we're very active. We have monthly meetings. And then. Can you use the mic, please? Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Always. All right. And then also in the packet, the other thing I included to help you understand why we need to do advertising is I went through the newly approved comprehensive community plan, and what I did was I brought out what our short-term, medium-term, long-term, and ongoing goals are that the planning board needs to address. So that's the next sheet. That's element 11 in the last section in the comp plan. So first I did the elements, and then these are all the things that we need to be working on over the next 10 years. And a number of them are revising, updating our subdivision regulations, and as well as our zoning ordinances. So, along with our action plans and goals. So there's a lot of work involved, and a lot of it is beyond the abilities of the volunteer boards and commissions that we serve on. So, I guess, and in the course of that, so as the planning board advertises the subdivision regulations that are approved, so we need to do advertising, and that's what the $1,000 is for. Hopefully, we can do a fair amount of it this year, and then into the next year, and get some of that stuff updated. I spoke with the clerk last week to just get an idea, because I've never seen the invoices, but she thinks it runs it varies, but maybe $150, or to $200 per ad, and when we do subdivision regulations or zoning ordinances, those have to be run 3 consecutive weeks, so it does add up quickly. So we'll try and combine as many as we can to minimize the number of times we have to advertise and how fast we can get through it, but that's what that account is for. The other thing that's new for professional tech services is something that both Lisa and I were interested in addressing. It has to do with our legal and engineering consultant support for our meetings and for our work. As you know, it gets very complicated with stormwater, DEM, DOT regulations, and as we are volunteers, not professionals, we need the professional support. The applicants come to us with lawyers and engineers and specialists in tow, and so they are presenting everything to us from their point of view. If we don't have peer review on our side of it, done by professionals. It makes this very difficult for us to make reach a fair decision with the town's interest in hand. So we always have a lawyer and an engineer at our meetings, in addition to the work that's done in between. They help review our agendas, our decisions, and provide the support that we need. So I know that Jan had put it all in under the planning board, but I know since the zoning board, Lisa can speak to that, what they need as well. I don't know if it would be better to divide it between the two departments, rather than if it's all under the planning board, then there's no fee set aside, or there's no funds set aside for the zoning board to draw on. I think the $30,000 that's under item 7175 is the stipend that's given to the solicitor to attend the meetings. So we each have one a month, and that's for some of the services, but if there's any additional that needs to be done. But we do need to have the engineer, and what happened was, in the past, the last contract that was presented to us, the engineer was not, part of the contract was not to charge for attending meetings. That was kind of a carrot that they provided. But it is standard practice for engineers to charge when they attend meetings, and we've been discussing that, and their rate, the current one is $125 an hour. Our meetings usually run 3 hours, and with their travel time, that puts us probably usually well over the $500. It's just the nature of the beast, and I think any engineering service is going to charge something comparable to that. So what I did was, just to give us a better idea, is I tried to break it down to see how far this would take us, the 12,000, or even the 30,000. I figured at $150 an hour, that would give us 16 and a half hours a month between the two boards of legal services, and that seemed, with 6 hours of meetings, that gives us 10 hours of additional legal advice during the course of the month, which probably would be fairly reasonable to expect. I don't know. And then, so anyway, then the steer engineering, or any kind of consultant engineer, that's $1,000 a month between the two boards. That would be $500 a meeting, and I think that's how that number was reached. So that's what I think Jan was talking about, and what we were looking for. But I think, it's very clear what we need, but I think Lisa wanted to speak to their needs as well.
I just want to
clarify one thing before we go further.
I want to finish planning board before we start the next one, that's all.
Pretty much piggybacking her.
Okay, but that's fine. I just want to do it in order, and I want to control our process, so, thank you, Sue. We're still talking on planning board?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there was originally, I'm sorry.
Well, just a point of information. You had said item number 7175, and I'm not...
Top of the page, under legal.
All right, thank you very much. There we go.
John?
So there originally was no budget request for this. I felt it was necessary to address it because of the issues that we had with the consulting engineering fee in particular. And just so that you know, that has been discussed by the council. The council would prefer that we don't have to pay for them attending the meetings, but I had to tell them that there's no choice. It's going to have to be paid for. I will add that that contract is going to be put out to bid again this year, and it certainly will be a point of negotiation, but as Susan indicated, it's standard practice that you pay for even just the time that they are here. So that's one. The other thing was that I wanted to say is about legal services. That actually is included in the retainer for the land use and zoning legal services in that account that you mentioned. So it's not really meant to be included in here. And I only could estimate what might be needed for consulting engineering services. And then I got the sense it might be more than what the planning board all by itself might need, and I suggested that we consider a similar availability for the zoning board. And on that, I also want to mention that the council weighed in on that about the need for the zoning board to have similar assistance of a professional engineer. And I thought you might want to know that, given the nature of the proceedings and the kinds of cases and topics that come before the board, that it would be very helpful to have the availability of expert advice. Sorry to hog the phone.
Okay,
No.
so I just want to, okay, so we're on planning board still. And Sue, are you done with your presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go, before we start on you, we have a procedure we use. So I'm going to go around, I'm going to start with Joe. I'm going to go ask if there's any questions on planning board this way. So we'll start with Joe. Any questions?
First, we say to all our members of zoning and planning, you're volunteers, and we appreciate your service. Don't we bill for the engineers?
The engineers, would they, for each specific plan that they review, we set up an escrow that's approved by the council every year. So for minor subdivisions, major subdivisions, commercials, there are escrow accounts that we set up that are like a revolving account. So that's just for their review of plans, and they're writing up their reports. So attendance to meeting is something separate. But what they do then is, at the meetings, then they can also comment or clarify, or if they have questions of the applicants, developers, or engineers, then they can help clarify those points or help us through that process. So that's why they're needed at our meetings.
Just a couple administrators ago, I was told that it kind of equaled out, that what we take in from the developers and fees generally pays for the engineering, and they kind of figured it in that way with the scheduling, because I guess by state law, you can't turn a profit, but you can charge what it's costing the town.
Right, well,
So
the fee that the planning board fee is basically to cover all town services that are required in order to review a plan. So that would be the administrative officer, that would be if the fire chief has to review the plan. That's for the time it takes to certify it, to review it, to write the decision. So by state law, you're not allowed to make a profit off the developer or the petitioner, but, it's to try and calculate the best you can how many hours they put into it and establish the fee that way. So it's not a money-making.
No, but I'm saying it's not a wash either. It may cost the town a little
No.
bit, but not as much as you would think. I mean, we are
No.
getting return.
Basically, the amount of fees we take in every year is under what we pay out.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just, because that was something we had discussed years back, and that's how it was explained to me. But I know, well, I served 6 years on the zoning board, and I know that, we're all volunteers, and none of us were engineers, so we needed to rely on somebody who could give us,
Right.
I think it was Mr. Smith used to come in a lot for us back in the days. So, just think it's a good idea, it protects the town.
Justin?
Sorry. I just wanted to echo what Joe said. Thank you guys for the time that you put in as volunteers on the planning board. The only question I had was, you mentioned that, I might have heard it wrong, that you had an engineer that would come and not charge you? It was
Well, that was when we had Deirdre Paiva. She used to attend meetings, and then when we hired Steer Engineering, she was working for them at the time, and part of that contract was they agreed to have her continue to keep working and not charge the town.
Okay.
But now that we're up for, I guess, new contract negotiations, it is standard practice for engineers to charge to attend meetings.
Okay, great, thanks.
I'm all set.
I'm good, thank you.
Joe, who was that Mr. Smith you were talking about? What was his qualification? He was what kind? He had the certification for...
Yeah, he served,
Okay.
saw him on both sides.
Okay.
Sometimes he'd be representing the applicant.
Thank you. And you said it was Steer Engineering now, that's the name?
That's who we have our contract with.
Okay, thank you, I'm set.
I have a couple questions. So, I guess it's just a propensity to put money in a budget while you're in negotiations. That's always I always scratch my head on that one. That's a comment, not a question. Secondly, I'm going to ask Sue, who I know is, you're the chair now of the planning board, so I noticed the document you sent had Stu's signature at the bottom, I think, but you're the chair.
Right.
How long have you been the chair for?
Oh, a month.
A month, okay, congratulations, I didn't know that, so congratulations, I expect to see Stu there. So.
Right.
And my question My question is sort of macro. I noticed, so in your section here, and having been hanging around this committee for, on and off for 15 years, so you're down to one line item, and then there's a land use department, of which we have a bunch of support, and one of the supports is the planner. So, I mean, obviously for paper and whatnot, you're relying on the support over there, obviously, or?
You mean the physical paper?
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
just,
when
you
they come-
used to have your own budget for paper.
Right,
and,
when we
you know,
combined last year to land use,
I wasn't
basically
here last
now
year,
it's
okay.
both the planning and the building office for supplies and those basic expenses, it's one combined
Okay,
account now,
okay.
yeah.
All right, and how's that worked out so far?
I don't know, because I haven't been, I don't really follow that end of it, I don't know how the numbers came out for
No.
last year, if it was reasonable, it's, because the planning board doesn't have a budget for supplies, it comes through the planning department, with the clerk and the administrative officer.
Well, it used to. I mean, it used to, go back, whatever, 5, 6 years, it was, it was, we
Right.
didn't have a planning department at some point, right?
Right,
So,
right, so, Ellie, Jan can answer that, yeah.
I can, and unfortunately, there is some red ink involved here. It shows that in the current fiscal year, there is a negative balance right now. And I was informed some time ago that this combination of supplies for both building as well as planning was a nice thing, but it was not as easy to do with the amount of money that was appropriated. So that's actually a tight situation right now, but it is true that it was combined, and both boards can depend on the land use or the building and planning department to help out with the
Okay.
supplies.
Yeah, I don't want to go off agenda on that. I just wanted to ask from the planning board's perspective, the comments. Okay, I will yield to Sherry if you have any questions.
Hey, and I just wanted to be clear, as we look at, under the professional and technology services, the 7198, there's a request for 12,000. And the detail that you gave was just for engineering services, that when legal needs to be, it's up at the top of the page in a separate one, correct? And the numbers that you were talking about, estimating $150 an hour, meeting travel time and all, gets us to the 12,000.
No, actually, I think that's where I was calculating it, for the 30,000, I was trying to see how we got to that 30,000 number. So, I mean, the 12,000 basically is $1,000 a month between planning
Planning and
board-
zoning
right.
for expertise in engineering. And then the
right,
need
to
for
attend
legal,
meetings, for
it's in
attend
the 7175 account number up
Right,
above.
right, that's for attendance at meetings.
Great. In that, and just to clarify too, is that in the instance where we have someone review submissions, the fees that get paid to professional engineers get paid out of the fees that developers, an applicant
Right.
pays?
Yep, the applicants pay for the review. Yeah,
Great.
they do the review. That doesn't get charged to the planning board.
Excellent. Thank you.
Jennifer, questions?
I don't have a question at this point.
Thank you. Deb?
So, thank you for your time and volunteer. So, the zoning, and I know you haven't spoken yet, but the numbers, the legal fees and the engineering fees, that's combined for both for zoning and planning?
For legal, yes.
For legal? Okay.
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
The answer, okay. That's all I had, thank you.
Jennifer?
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I think we'll close out then the planning board. I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which I'm calling for now 13.5 for record keeping, which is discussion of zoning board of review. And I guess it actually has hyphen public stenographer in the docket. I will let you say your piece now. I'm sorry for making you wait for
No,
the
that's
process,
okay.
and I want to just stick to the agenda.
I've never appeared before the
Okay.
Budget Committee
Great, well,
before.
thanks for coming.
And I should thank everybody here for their service, but there are some things that I wanted to bring to your attention. And I've just, by way of background, I was a criminal defense lawyer for 41 years, and I usually represented people with no money. So I've learned how to, like, juggle and learn a lot of things that I could, like, do a plausible job of cross-examining people in an area that was beyond my expertise. But I have to tell you that when it comes to zoning, I am in the land of Oz. There's nothing that I could do to teach me how to cross-examine a civil engineer, or how I can question other environmental experts, because I simply do not have that expertise. I'm also an idiot when it comes to math, so this is why I'm not prepared with a budget. But there are some things I've taken advantage of, all these Grow Smart seminars that they have given to us, and they've really been helpful. I mean, they've opened my eyes to realize, for me to realize how much I don't know. And when I read, I go to these environmental seminars that are principally made up of scientists that are there to, that work for towns and municipalities, I find myself at sort of a disadvantage, because I explain that I'm on the zoning board, that I don't know the technical questions to ask. And I really want you to appreciate that when we're sitting up where you're sitting, and we have developers come in here with very slick professionals, and they tell us, oh, no problem, no problem, no problem, no problem. And we don't have anybody that can tell us what questions to ask. And when I go to these seminars, I say to the scientists, can you give me a cheat sheet? Can you give me what questions are relevant to expose perhaps bias, or to expose some faulty scientific reasoning, that I can do my job the way I should do my job. I'm sure you all saw recently in the Journal the articles about climate change and what's going to happen with the next big storm. And Bristol, Harbor, Barrington, Warren, sayonara. And we're in the same position as they are in because of our physical locality on the Sakonnet River. And those are questions that scare me. And I really want to do a good job at the zoning board. We all take it really seriously. Nobody's got a dog in the fight. We don't have relatives that are professional engineers or environmentalists. And they are really a dedicated group of people. But I'm just afraid that I don't have the scientific background. And I should add parenthetically, we've always had very experienced city solicitors that specialize in zoning, planning, land use, that have been tremendously helpful to me. And I just don't know. I mean, I really feel like I spoke at the town council meeting because I had concerns about our present town solicitor, who had no experience in municipal law and zoning. So anyway, I just really feel that this town needs to have that backup. I don't really need to have an engineer sitting next to me during every zoning meeting, and I can work very much with the planning board. It's not every case that I'm going to feel like I need someone wants to put a garage in front of their house. That's pretty much what we deal with. Do you want to add a bathroom to your house? This is not going to be something that's going to be a major deal for us. But when you deal with subdivisions and the impact that it's going to have on our roads. I mean, I live on Lake Road. Every time it gets cold, you take your life into your own hands. At East Road, the same thing. There's so much runoff, it freezes. You're going around a curve, and all of a sudden, you're in the Winter Olympics to see if you can keep your car on the road. So I think I could very much piggyback on what Sue has said, and I'm certainly willing to meet with an engineer to ask questions. I mean, very many times it might just be for us to have somebody's opinion. And if there's no contest between what the petitioner's expert is saying and what our expert believes, then there's not going to be any need for him to appear. I'm not trying to create controversy where there isn't any. But I really feel that we do need these support services to do our jobs effectively. And, forever's a long time. I want to be able to keep this town the way it is and to make sure that we're all safe and our houses aren't going to be taken away by the next hurricane. So I'm sorry I have no dollar and cents things to tell you, but that's sort of where I'm coming from. And I, again, think I can very much piggyback on any money that you give the planning board. I'm not a magician, but I'll try.
Okay, so thank you for your talk. And I will start on this side for any questions. Do you have any questions? I do. Deb?
Are there any issues to date that you are particularly concerned with?
The cases were probably already decided, and it's a little too late to go back into them. But yes, I have felt like my pocket was picked a number of times because I didn't have the technical information to ask. And
then, so are you saying that you'd like to be able to request an engineer to be at certain meetings as needed?
yes.
Okay.
And I think it's probably not a lot, but, for the bigger developments, I think it is a necessity.
Okay, and so that amount would be you're considering that in this 4,500?
I'm on her team
Oh,
when it
okay,
comes to
you're-
that, because most of
Okay, no.
most of those cases are going to go before the planning board before they're going to come to us.
Okay,
4,500 is only for their stenographers.
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So I had to put something in the budget, I felt. I initially thought only of the planning board and this development with the consulting engineers. And then it occurred to me, and someone else also commented on it from the council, that gee, the zoning board can really use the same services.
Okay,
So I think that, the $12,000 is a good way to start. We don't know exactly what it's going to cost. In
okay,
either case, I know that we're not unnecessarily going to use services when we don't need them, so there will be a conservative approach to that. Where exactly it should be housed, I don't really know, but I think we can figure that out.
okay. Thank you for the
Thank you.
clarification.
I'm all set.
And I'm new too, so I do have a couple of questions. So are there not any, obviously, we're at a local level, but I know that there were classes that were offered to us that were at the state level. Do they have those for people on your?
I usually go to, I know we had one on the open meetings law, which was really helpful. We had one on how to write zoning decisions, which was helpful. And the last one I went to was this climate change, which absolutely blew my mind. And it opened doors, again, to tell me what I didn't know was so very important to our sustainability as a town.
And I will be trying to present something, because I've done some research on some things too that maybe I can bring in and present, and we can send it over to you.
Well, believe me, I've asked these people from URI to give me a checklist, tell me what to ask, and they're really hung up on the science end of it and not in help me in the zoning department. So, they've been really helpful, in terms of what I've learned, but I've got a lot to learn, and I've been really taking this seriously.
I have a couple questions. Ooh, sharp coming through here. One question is, you mentioned, having the professional technical support come to the meeting, and my question is, I would hope, and you can confirm it or not, but I would hope that, 2/3 of these you could knock out by emailing the information, getting an answer on the phone, say, and you could pay for the hour instead of the 3 hours here plus the, I'm hoping that a lot of these could be handled that way.
I mean,
So
I've
you know the
never,
questions, you send the information, you know the
I've
questions.
never worked with engineers before, but I imagine that they're going to be part of the planning board. So I could call up Susan and say, what about X, Y, and Z? Or I could call the engineer and say,
Right.
what about X, Y, and Z?
Email the information.
And then I could, I mean, I don't know, I mean, I would hope that that would be sufficient, but there are cases where it's beyond
Right,
me.
I understand.
And I would think that they would be the minority of the business that comes in front of the zoning board. And again, I have no reason to create controversy or to try to spend money that, you know, I know the town doesn't want to spend, but there are times when it's necessary.
Right.
And I don't want to rely on someone else's expert.
No, I understand, and hopefully, a lot of these, if you have a question, you need to know the question, you need to understand, you can resolve it, you can come to it educated, you get the, you know, specifically on the topic with a phone call, or, you know.
I would hope that
and
that-
then-
that
and
that
then
would have
2
the
out of 3 times,
flexibility.
You're educated coming in, 1 out of 3, the engineer's gonna say, I better be there for this one.
I would hope that would be the
Yeah.
case, and I would hope that whatever engineer contracts with the town would be willing to spend 15 minutes on the phone
Right.
to settle
And
my
bill for it,
concerns
correct.
informally.
Correct, right.
So that would be my hope.
So, just latitude, that's important to me, because, I mean, a lot of the cost is, you know, sitting there waiting for your turn and driving out here, obviously. So I'm just going to segue to Sue as a, not as a planning board member, but just as an expert in this. So when you work with an engineer, historically, like, are you can send them info, they can answer a question on the phone without coming here, right,
Yeah,
physically?
usually it's the administrative officer that conveys the plans and all
Okay.
the documents to them, then they do their review, they submit a report, but then they also come to the meetings
If needed.
to. Well, we pretty much have them at every meeting, because usually questions come up, or there's disagreements, or there's gray areas, or members don't understand, you know, we need explanations sometimes when it's very complicated, like calculating runoffs and stormwater. I mean, it gets involved.
Well,
It gets very involved, so.
I guess I want to, since this is new ground for the zoning
Yeah.
board a little bit, I want to ask, and I don't mean to chew up the clock, I'm breaking my own rules here, but just on this issue, because these things can explode too, based on your experience, Sue, like, I mean, are there situations, do you think, where the zoning board is going to be able to call the engineer, whoever you're using, say, I got an issue, I'm going to email you what's going on, can we talk about it, so I can get smart and handle this, you know,
Right.
shy of the engineer showing up? Like, do you anticipate that that'll be the case
Well,
for the zoning board?
I think what could happen is sometimes if the 2 engineers are in agreement, but if they're not in agreement, I think you need the engineer because they're representing the town, and the applicant's engineer is representing the interest of their development or their project.
Sure.
And you need to be fair to the people on the board, or the boards that are having to weigh the information, because otherwise you're getting it skewed
So
by
you
the
think,
applicant.
that the zoning board, without, if there's a difference of opinion, when the engineer reviews it in his office, if there's a difference of opinion, you think that the zoning board gets rolled pretty much unless the engineer's here?
Well, I don't know about that, but I think it keeps it very fuzzy for the board to make
Okay.
an informed decision. I think they have to make an informed decision. The other thing that comes up a lot is they do a lot of things within the watershed, and in the meetings I've attended, that a lot of times, there's a lot of gray areas in the discussion, and without an engineer on behalf of the town to advocate for the town, their option is to take the word of the applicant's engineer, and that's not always in the best interest of the town.
And that's the only evidence we have. You know, all we have is an uncontested, unchallenged opinion. But one thing I wanted to add, I mean, we have power to change our own rules of procedure, and we have procedures where people are required to give us their engineers, or to give us the documents
Upfront.
10 days before the hearing. And, you know, sometimes they do that and sometimes they don't. And I think that maybe we need to strengthen our procedural rules so we get opinions 10 days in advance, so we can send the report off to our guy and say, is there any problem with this? What do you agree with this? What questions should I ask? And that would be the end of it.
Sure, that'd be great.
But I think you know whether you're going to need somebody or not. And so we can have somebody on call. You know, if it's a local engineer, I'm not going to have them sit here for 3 hours while we listen to somebody's, garage issue. We need to have that flexibility to minimize the expense to the town. And I don't know if we are legally allowed to have developers pay for our expert, as they do in the planning board. I mean, I would be willing to to try to find that authority. It's never come before us, and so that's another way of trying to do this on the cheap. But I just offered that by way of trying to change our procedural rules to require this. And if they don't have the report, get to the back of the bus. We'll see you next month.
So you're saying we select the engineer, but we could ask them to pay for it?
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we have the legal authority to ask them to pay for it. But we definitely select the engineer, because I don't need two of their experts coming in front of us.
I'm going to recognize Jan for a minute, and I'm going to go this way.
So on that, I think there is agreement that the services are needed. Exactly when, exactly how, to some extent, we need to leave to the board. And things are changing all the time, too. Lisi, talked about several issues that are increasingly complicating the review of cases coming before the board, like climate change, that will increasingly have implications for zoning as well. So the expertise is going to be needed. At the same time, I think both the boards need to try and manage the cost as best as possible. And we'll just have to see. And we are going to look into whether the zoning board has the authority under enabling legislation to charge fees as well. But on the fees that can be charged, even in the planning board case, not everything that comes before the planning board is a case where you can actually assign the cost to that particular person. Maybe if there is an official application, you can do it as part of that, because we clearly have the authority to do that. But sometimes, it's not even there, and you still need the assistance of an expert to have the discussion.
Okay. Thank you. Ruth, we'll go around and finish up.
So I'm learning a little bit more about this area, these issues. Are there other members on the planning board who have zoning experience? On the zoning board? Who have past zoning experience before they got there? Anybody who has any?
In zoning or engineering?
Zoning board.
On our zoning board, we have myself, who was a criminal defense lawyer, Wendy Humphrey, who is a civil litigator.
That's okay. Don't
Yeah.
go through all that. Just
No
keep it
engineering.
going.
I
Okay,
mean, we've
just
had people
wondering,
that have
yeah.
been on the board for a long time, but
Okay.
I don't think that qualifies them as an engineer.
Right, no, I'm not asking that.
Yeah.
I'm just asking if they had any zoning knowledge before they got on the board. Okay. And what about you, Sue? Your board, Sue, how many people had any knowledge before they got on the board of what they do?
really relevant.
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, we're
Right.
volunteers,
Okay.
and that's not
Just
our
curious,
profession.
thank
It's
you.
not our profession.
Because this town it has fairly, like Lisa was saying, is pretty non-complex, and I wonder about it's a simple town, it's not like a big town. And that's what you were saying, you said that many of them were garages and that type of thing. So going forward, it might get a little more complex, I understand, but you aren't forced to accept subdivisions that people that come to you and say, I want to make a subdivision. If you don't have the time, or you don't have the expertise to go, to make the decision in a quick way, you can take your time. Is that true? Is there any kind of time limit when somebody presents?
Yes, there are time limits.
Okay. What is the time limit for somebody who presents?
Well, I know that they have to go through the planning board first, and then they have their hearing, and then they take an appeal. If their planning board is denied relief, then it comes in front of us.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's
Yeah.
time issues,
Yeah.
okay. Who is Smart Growth, and how did that come into the picture?
I think it's a nonprofit agency that's run by, what was his name? Scott Wolf, who, they harness a lot of expertise from University of Rhode Island, and I don't know if they get grants, but a lot of people volunteer.
Rhode Island Group?
Yes.
Okay.
And they provide excellent, excellent workshops for local volunteer board members that are appreciated throughout the state. They're the best.
They really are terrific, and they have them, like 1 month or 1 quarter, they'll be in South Kingston, and then they'll have one in East Providence. So, I mean, they're all over the state.
So you're saying that the URI was mainly the scientific end of it, but yet that's where Smart Growth came to tell us how to do growth in our towns. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to, maybe you can answer.
I'm sorry, personally, I think we're going way beyond what you need to
No, I
discuss
just,
tonight.
when she mentioned Smart Growth, I need to know who it is.
But,
It is.
Growth Smart, I can certainly explain that.
Growth
But I
Smart.
do believe that, in terms of who's on the board or what the boards ought to
No,
be
you
doing,
don't need
that's
to
for
go
the
through that.
town
I
council.
passed that by, okay? Go ahead with Smart Growth, with Growth Smart.
That's your question. What is it called? I think Growth Smart, isn't that a hard word?
Growth Smart, Rhode
Growth
Island.
Smart, Rhode Island.
Growth Smart. They
Almost
sell
every
lumber,
state
don't
has an organization like.
And they're not in business anymore.
So I need to know why you're going to that organization, as And then one other question, what sort of input does the voter in Tiverton have on whether to accept a subdivision or not in their town?
I'll have to give that to you.
They can always come and comment, but we make our decisions based on the subdivision regulations, the zoning ordinances, and the comp plan, and we review the plans for those 3 items, and if they fit within those parameters, there's always allowed for the public to speak, comment, and we take that into consideration, but we are bound to make our decisions based on the town's regulations and zoning.
Okay, thank you. And the ordinances you mentioned, where are those?
Subdivision, land use subdivision regulations.
In our ordinances?
Yep,
Town
they're
ordinances?
on
Okay, thank you.
the planning, they're on the
Okay.
planning board website.
Thank you, and just to, a note to Lisa, I never had any road ice issues on those roads, and I live right there, but I have heard that occasionally there is, but yeah, just to let you know.
Not to mention the
it's not too bad.
potholes,
East-
which are-
East Road has never been a problem, I've lived there for 20 years, so I'm just mentioning, Rick's back there, so.
You mustn't go out when it's really cold.
I do, actually.
I was out sideways a few days ago.
Yeah, it's on the curve, that's where you really don't want to see ice.
Slow skiing.
Yeah.
I think I've taken my time, I wonder about your hurricane comment, but I think I'll skip that for now. Yeah, go ahead.
Tom?
Yeah, I just want to say I spent basically my career reviewing engineering proposals and actually making some of them. Things are great when you have a standard to compare to, but with new technology, you're kind of on your own. And so you sort of have to approach it philosophically, and there's some like concepts that I'd love to have a sidebar discussion.
Give me your number, I'll call you for advice.
Okay, I will. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Jay?
I just want to say I fully concur with Lisa and Susan. Without adequate, competent, informed, legal, and engineering expertise at any of these board meetings to which people are going to present proposals that have to be reviewed and/or approved, without our guy on our side at these meetings, we're bringing a knife to a gunfight, and we will lose. These people, not to be nasty, their business is to come here to make money, and they will do anything they can to do that. And if that includes bending the rules, outright lying, and leading us down the garden path, they will do so. And it is our job and our responsibility to make sure they don't.
We know that.
Thank you, Jay. Justin?
I have no questions, thank you.
Joe?
Only that the case zoning board here, the special use permit for a variance, things like that, I think it's, like she said, you probably wouldn't need the engineer, but when you have an appeal of the building inspector's decision, where, for instance, he might have condemned a house, and it's probably going to end up in Superior Court. So the record at that hearing, that's why we have a transcript, and that's what the court is going to be looking at, that meeting, because you're actually sitting as a board with a review So at that meeting, it's important that all of the evidence gets in. So at a meeting like that, you want to have, but most of that work is going to be done obviously before they come to the meeting because, it takes time for maybe the house gets condemned, then, applicant has to appeal, decision, get a date, so between then, that's when so he might have to show up for the case just to present his evidence to make sure it gets into the record. But there's also work before the meeting, obviously, to confirm his findings. So, and things like that, it's kind of important, because if you lose in court, you end up paying, for the other lawyers' fees and everything else. So, I have to agree that, some professional help, I don't think it's going to cost, we don't have a lot of those cases, but in the event that happens, you need to have somebody available, and funds, obviously.
I agree, that is incredibly important to have a record below.
Yeah.
Because the Superior Court is generally not going to question our decision if it's supported by the record. And if we don't have an expert, or we don't have anybody challenging that opinion, then, we look like jerks, and we're going to lose.
Well, the building inspector alone is not enough, that's the point.
Well, the building inspector, we don't even have one anymore, do we? I mean, that's another problem.
Yeah, okay, we'll get into
So,
that.
Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
One other thing I was just wondering.
Sorry.
To date, is there a backlog of subdivisions that are being proposed that are coming into town?
I don't think so. We had to cancel our meeting last night because of the death in someone's family. I think that involved a subdivision, but, other than,
I didn't ask my question very well. How many subdivisions are concurrently being developed in Tiverton or being considered?
It doesn't make sense to me.
Any idea?
I just did a list this morning. I didn't bring it with me. I thought of it, but it shows what is kind of pending, what's been approved, what's being built. In the annual review, it shows what's mostly minor subdivisions that were completed last year, what additional houses. Right now, we have 3 solar developments that we're considering, major land developments, and we have a number of minor subdivisions and a major subdivision that's also being under consideration. We have a full docket every month, and sometimes we have to do 2 meetings a month.
Okay.
Plus, we have environmental review statements, we have administrative subdivisions, which is changing lot lines. We have a number of issues. Plus, we have to work on the comp plan, subdivision regulations, zoning ordinances. We have a full boat.
One good source of information about that is the monthly reports from department heads, in this case, the administrative officer.
Okay.
And there usually are minutes from the planning board meetings as well. And there usually is a very clear summary of the kinds of cases that come before and include subdivision. So it's a good
Okay,
place to
good way
find
to
the
get an
information.
overview. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to move on. One comment, the lowest lying fruit I heard tonight from Budget Hat is this 10-day, enforcing the 10-day advance rule. Talking 12,000, the more you can do with that, for my support of something like this, I'd want to know that we're going to enforce that 10-day rule. I know it's hard to do, but they got to know that they're getting sent home because it's a no-brainer if you can work with the attorney without,
Well, the problem is that a lot of people don't have attorneys, and they come in here and, they come to the zoning board and they don't know what the rules are. They don't even know what the standards are.
They have to submit the
Yeah.
application, whether they have an attorney or not, 10 days in advance.
But, what I'm saying
It's
is
a rule.
that there are a lot of people that don't know the rules, and I don't want to deny someone because they're not prepared. So I try to help them, to tell them what they've got to do and come back, and I tell them you can have a continuance if you want
Well, if they're
one.
not hiring professional help, then.
Well, they don't have the money to hire
That's
professionals.
what I mean, it's not that hard to come
But-
back in 20 days.
I represented people that had no money, and, they're doing the best they can.
Sure.
If they're lucky enough to own property, you don't want to give them short shrift.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, we shift gears from land to water, it looks like.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lisa, Sue, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your information and time.
humor.
We can go to number 14. which will be discussion and preliminary vote on Harbor and Coastal Management Commission budget. And I think that will be Mr. Cox. And the next item on the agenda after that is 15. I want to handle these separately again, but the next item on the agenda is discussion and preliminary vote of Harbor Master Budget. So we'll take the first one, and I see I have both at the table now.
Can I make a suggestion, because we already spent an hour? If there are questions about the budget, can you ask those? Because otherwise, we're going through presentations, and it will take like forever.
Well, I'm going to ask, first of all, I'm going to ask, isn't the Harbor Plan a one-liner pretty much?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask very briefly, Mr. Cox, if there's if he has a very short statement about his one-liner, and then I'll ask his questions.
Our budget is minimal. We're an advisory commission, we work with the harbor master, he works with us.
Okay.
Our primary goal is to support the harbor master and hear people and their issues and try to look at issues. But our budget, our line item budget is, what, $300, right? And more often than not, we don't spend it, but we need to have it parked there because we need to get a water quality permit because our harbor management plan was not threatened, but sort of threatened last year by the CRMC, and we're starting to work with them on that. So that's what our budget is primarily for.
Okay, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with that budget. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cox about his $300 budget for a plan that he needs parked in place?
There's actually two items on there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Get to it now. Brendan, what page are you on?
It's on page 8, second one up from the bottom. And the other amounts of water quality
Well, the
test,
water
the
quality
testing.
testing, no, we're rescinding that. We would like to put that over to the harbor masters, actually. We've done all the water quality testing we can. We've determined where the sources of problems are. It's predominantly with farms, and they're not enforced, you can't enforce against a farm. The Right to Farm Act prohibits us from attacking a farm for violating a farm, unfortunately.
So you don't need the money anymore?
We do not need that money anymore.
The 1,800?
Okay.
That should be shifted over to the harbor master's budget, and for a very simple reason, which he can explain, or I'll help him explain.
Okay, so anyone else have a question for Mr. Cox?
I do. How does the public find out what bodies of water are affected by farms?
All our tests are reported on record at the URI water quality site, and if our member that's in charge of that, Charles Lawrence, is actually, now you were talking about environmental changes. If you check our agenda, sea level rise is on our agenda now as a standing item. He's a very intelligent gentleman. He's a professor at Brown University of Applied Mathematics, and he's very concerned about this issue.
Any other questions on this end? Okay. Any questions this way?
Just a very quick one. Where can I see the current and past sea level changes on some website?
Check the CRMC website. They were the people that did the studies for Barrington Warren. They haven't come to the south end of the state yet, but it would be pretty frightening in Tiverton. Just think about Fogland Road.
Several websites are very informative. There was also some information in the back of the comprehensive plan on that showing, what the flood hazards are, the projections. But the CRMC has what is called the Beach Special Area Management Plan, and as part of that, it has the analyzing changes in coastline, for example, and also the Storm Tools Program, which has its own website as well, allows you to actually look at under different scenarios how much flooding you can expect in your community.
Thank you very much.
Tom, anything?
The data ultimately comes from NOAA, is that correct? The
Data Zach.
sea level
rise?
data.
I believe it does, but
No?
it's not Jan might know better than I.
It comes from a whole bunch of agencies, and sometimes you wish they could coordinate a little bit better. NOAA certainly contributes a lot to the science of modeling and data collection, whatever. FEMA is very, very involved in flood projections. There are also questions about how accurate their projections are, which is why CRMC and URI took it upon themselves to do their own much more updated and sophisticated modeling, and building these tools where you can actually use it for planning purposes to see what we should be doing.
These tools also include error bars, right, where there's plus, minus, it could be in this range, okay. That's all I have for now.
Jay?
Nothing.
Justin?
I have nothing.
Joe? Okay, great. So I'll close out number 14, and we'll rapidly move on to number 15, which is discussion and preliminary vote on harbor master budget. Your name is Tyler? Tyler.
Yep.
Okay, do you know everyone here?
I believe I met most before.
Okay, okay, great. So, and this is our harbor master, Tyler. Thank you for helping me out there a couple years ago. And so, I will, let me find your budget here. Your budget, does it go to the second page? Someone help me here. I see it at the bottom of the page. Does it flip to the next? Okay, so that being said, the total budget is,
30K.
help me out here.
30K.
30,000. Tyler, would you like to speak to any hot spots you have in your budget? I know you have one big one.
Yeah, as of right now, the budget itself, the only increase I had was for an assistant, which is greatly appreciated out there, which helps me out a lot. So with that, I just asked for another 1,000 for him. And then everything else is as following years for the budget, other than the capital expense for outboards, because as of right now, we don't have a boat. And all of last summer, no boat.
And if I may, on that topic,
Yeah, I'll give you the floor, Jan.
initially, I had thought that we needed to put in for those outboards in the next fiscal year budget. And then I found out that the boat hasn't been operating. So then I thought, well, now we're going to have another season without a boat that works for the harbor master, which makes no sense to me. So we're looking for ways to actually find money this year to be able to buy the 2 new outboards that are needed. There is a fair amount in the boat operations account, which I believe there is agreement that should go towards those outboard motors. And also Tyler has done some serious homework about, whether the motors that they had initially selected are really still the only choice. They also became more expensive recently, and he just told me tonight that actually the Honda motors are at least as good, and they're a little cheaper. So he's brought down the price of that a little bit. But the short of it is that if we want a harbor master who can actually go out on the water, we need to get some, new motors on that boat. And it's not entirely clear yet how we're going to cobble it all together. But we might actually need to increase the money. Well, actually, if we do it in next year, it's in a way too late unless we can do it on a payment plan. And then, we could pay part of the cost in the next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, Jan. I will start, I started in the middle last time, so I'm going to start with Joe again. I think we start this way. Go ahead, Joe, any questions?
Not this time.
Okay, Justin?
No questions here.
Jay?
Tyler, what kind of condition is the boat itself in?
The boat's in excellent condition. It's been well maintained. Electronics have been upgraded throughout the years. New outboard bracket put on it. The boat's been going right through.
All right, so then
It just needs.
it is cost effective to put
Yeah.
engines on this boat. All right, not to put you on the spot, why didn't we go into the town council and try to get money out of the contingency fund? Because to me, it's idiotic to have a harbor master that can't go on the water.
We may still do that. I told the council about the situation and my recent discovery that currently the boat is actually not operable, and that we would need to find a way to, buy these motors instead of waiting after the next summer doing it before.
And what was their reaction?
I think they were taking it under advisement.
Okay, I know what that
Being
means.
mindful, if I may speak on behalf of the Harbor Commission and the Harbor Master, the Harbor Master's project, or the management of the harbor, brings in about $50,000 a year against a budget of about half of that. So it's actually a profit center, which is, I'm told repeatedly, is not a basis by which you make your decisions, but you want to know what? If the profit goes away, that's a dumb decision.
Yeah, that came up last year, the fact that it's not a money-losing
That's correct.
proposition.
And last year at the budget committee, I did mention that it might need motors, and
Yeah,
shortly
you did.
after that, they let go. It wasn't too much longer, they held on.
Your prediction came true.
Can I just ask one thing?
Sure, well, is Jay done?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, we'll go back to Justin.
Just entertain me, like, what is the harbor's master's job on the water? Like, what are your responsibilities? Like, what situations would you be out in the water, on the water for?
So, Saturdays and Sundays, weeknights, I have 398 moorings. I need to make sure they're all up to date with inspections, all paid all on time, and all have the proper markings on it. We have 7 mooring areas that all have no-wake buoys that I take care of, to install, take them out every year. And then also going through the no-wake areas, making sure boaters are applying the laws, and also in the harbor, making sure there's no wake is being followed.
So basically, right now, that's not being done?
Correct.
Because we don't, yeah, it
Correct.
seems like a contingency problem to me. I mean, there's some liability there if we're not, yeah. All right, wow, I didn't even realize
And
that.
without having a boat, it also affects new moorings going in.
It
so
doesn't
it's-
help if you're on the shore with binoculars and you
Correct.
can't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We were going which way here? You good? Ruth, anything?
The fees are still coming in, that's
Correct.
one thing. So on the revenue sheet, I see, you said 50,000? Is that what you're saying?
On the order of that. I don't have.
For all the fees that are coming in, okay, that's just good, that's good. Did you ever rent a boat to do the job? Or you didn't ever, okay, that's okay, I was just wondering. And on the motors, a lot of departments have been very good about, like, buying a used vehicle. The fire department, and the police departments both have been very frugal and helpful. So are you thinking of used motors?
Brand new.
Why not? Why, I mean?
You can put used ones on, we'll be fixing them up again. They live in a saltwater environment, saltwater is not friendly on anything.
So you're just saying to us that you cannot find a used motor, is what you're saying?
We could, but it wouldn't be cost effective.
Okay, Jan?
If I'm not mistaken, this has been suggested before, and I believe it has been tried out as well, and the conclusion is that it's very difficult to know for sure that you get a reliable used motor that is being used as much as you need to use it for the harbor master's job. So it was decided by the professionals that you're better off buying new. And yes, it's a big expense, but they're going to last longer if we maintain them. This is really the key, I think, and I know that we have a good person taking care of the equipment. Maintenance is key, so that they can last a good while.
If I may, we received this boat before Tyler was involved in the harbor as a harbor master. He was an assistant harbor master before that, voluntary. And so the motors we received were used, and through good judicious care, Tyler managed to get them to last as long as they did. It became a matter of, gee, they needed $18,000 worth of work here, and then just, sooner you stop trying to string something along. The other component is, the engines are one component of the drive system of the boat. They are controlled by drive wheels, controls, and electronics. So if you try to buy a used motor, you're going to have to try to use stuff that doesn't match. You can't do it. You can't use the wheel, the electronics, and the controls. So that's why it's more than just the motors.
Okay, so just mentioning on the side that we do have a motor expert and mechanic who has a business right in town, as you know, right? Larry's Outboards. So I'm sure that you could find something. I just need to know with the horsepower, what are you looking for exactly?
Twin, 225 horsepower, Yamaha 4-strokes, or we could go a different brand.
Okay, that's good. You did the research, that's great. And we appreciate everything you do. We're a really coastal town and appreciate that you're doing all that. Did you want to say, go ahead?
No.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm saving my comments.
And
Moving out loud.
I'm taking the words right out of your mouth. How much is each one of those that you've done your research on?
I looked into Hondas, and right now I'm at 17,550 for a standard rotation and 18,100 for a counter rotation.
I guess I want to ask what the difference is.
They spin, the counter rotation spins an opposite way, and with twin outboards, that's how it needs to be on a boat.
Okay, thank you very much for the research that you did. That's all I have.
And those are prices for new?
Correct. And the recent quote I have for Hondas, that's GSA pricing, government pricing, and that's because we'd be switching from Yamahas to Hondas, that comes with all the rigging and everything we need.
That comes with
And that's
cables and
significantly
all the
less than the
controls and
Yamahas.
everything?
Correct.
Great. So, did you compare GSA to retail? I mean, I don't know if GSA might be higher, you know how that could.
No, GSA is cheaper.
Is it? I don't know.
Considerably
I'm just
cheaper.
asking the question.
As of right now.
You never know.
As for right now, for Yamahas, just pop the motors off that boat and put the same exact replacements on, we're looking at 49,000. And for Hondas, we would have to switch all control cables, everything like that, we're looking at 39,000.
Okay, so, yeah, so GSA is,
So double
is
the
less.
triple.
Yep, but that price, the 17.5 and the 18.5, numbers were for Hondas.
Correct.
Yeah, that was the lower, okay, so this is Honda.
Does-
So,
oh,
my
sorry.
question, I guess Ruth asked the question, which is great. My comment relates, I have two quick comments. First of all, I have a friend who you probably know, Tyler, I'll save the name now. But she is continually buying, engines off eBay. She finds the left, she finds the right, you know who she is.
Yep.
And, she buys an extra one for parts and.
Puts a power head on the
you
next
know who she
week
is.
and a
So,
loading
yeah,
at the next
I'm just
week.
saying is all, it is doable.
It
You know who
is,
it is.
but-
So, anyway, the other thing is, I wanted to say though, the source of that boat, 10 years ago, whenever we got it, I mean,
That was donated from DEM, we didn't pay
DEM.
anything.
okay, well,
So we got.
does DM have any more? I'm asking the question.
No,
Me,
I
not facetious, but-
I did look into that, and all I was advised that they are boats that need engines.
Too bad.
They have boats, they
How
just need
about
engines.
Homeland Security? I mean, do they change their underwear a lot there with boats? I mean,
The commission was looking into grants for boats and stuff.
I'm just wondering if it's easier to maybe, grab a boat with an, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, maybe there's some way we can get a whole boat, I don't know, we got a boat free once, maybe,
Yeah.
I'm just asking the question. I don't know how much effort's been put into it. I
Real
certainly-
effort has been put into that, Jeff.
Okay.
The issue is a matter of, there are boats out there that look really spectacular and
Mhm.
sexy and whatnot, and you can buy, it comes with these motors that have been rode hard, put away wet, and have been damaged. So you're going to be taking, it's like buying a hard-driven, it's not a nice little old lady's driven Toyota
Mhm.
back and forth to church.
Yeah.
This is one that's been driven hard by teenagers and rode hard, because that's what they have to do if they're in the Coast Guard or in the military. They are out there in any kind of conditions all the time. And they're not necessarily they're well maintained, but they've been beaten.
So the engines might have been
So-
salted or
so-
whatever, yeah.
So you're saying, okay, we have a good boat, we're gonna get another good boat, and we're gonna have two more bad engines.
Okay.
That's the problem. And NSA usually looks to having the boat doing other services. and-
NSA?
And, other services, and the state has grants, but it's for pump-out boats, which you have to match. And this town has routinely had no appetite for that, despite the efforts to make it a zero impact on the budget and everything else.
Okay.
That's been a hell of an exercise, excuse my French.
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
Okay, sure.
Sherry? Thank you.
No, I was just going to say, we owned a boat, and I know how expensive it is and how hard it is to get engines, so, are there any, I mean, obviously, it sounds like you guys have done a lot of research on the engines and what needs to be done, but do you look at areas where there may be fresh water? I don't know whether obviously they have harbor masters in areas like New York, along, like we got our boat from an area where it was fresh water kept. So I know the water around here is probably more brackish, but do they have areas where you might be able to called to look?
Again, as you said, it's going online,
Yeah.
I mean, you could get a motor that lasts a little
No,
while.
yeah, that I don't
Yeah.
think is a good idea.
No.
I agree, I think getting new engines is probably the best. Go ahead, Brendan.
Brendan?
Yeah, so I wanted to, a couple of things, looking at we have a spreadsheet that, Jan, I don't believe the town council has weighed in on these numbers yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
This has not yet come up, the council just had its second budget meeting, so
Right.
it still needs to.
So fair enough, and just so for Tyler and for Bruce to know, the numbers don't line up exactly with a request that a department might put in with what's submitted to us. So just a quick, for instance, on the spreadsheet that we're looking for under Harbor Master where it has assistance, the request at this point is $2,500 from the version we have, right? Tyler is talking 1,000.
Right.
Is everyone with me? It's just, and
Oh,
that.
he's adding 1,000. What do you want for a total? Tyler?
3,000.
This is 2,500.
So you want 500 more than what's on here?
So this one says 20.
Which is, by the way, last year was 2,000, so you
Yeah,
want
correct,
1,000
yeah.
more than last
So
year.
our copy says or 20, our
Right.
copy says 20.
Right, but he wants 1,000 more than last year's approval. Thank you. Okay, Brendan, you
That's
got
what
the floor.
I sent in.
Right. So, and I mean, this to me is, it's partly you, but I suspect, and Jan, you're the best one to do, is that in the process of trying to provide a budget to us, there's some decisions that the town administrator or the council will do that might not jive exactly with what any one of the department heads would like. So we just need to do that what might be here might not be exactly what a department head would like.
Can I just ask what document you're looking at and the date
Yep, it's the January 14th draft.
under Harbor Master?
Correct.
And which line
Yep,
item?
it's a account, the major account is 3360, and then when we look under second line item assistance, there's two.
Oh, okay,
5114.
right.
All right, so,
It's
great,
for the assistant, is the line item is slightly different.
okay.
He didn't get everything he asked for.
Right, so that's important for us and for perhaps for new people on here, is there could be, and there'll be many other instances of that, and guess what, they're probably a lot more than $500 where it might happen. Question that I have is, looking down, computer software is a $1,500 account item that didn't have anything on it prior. Do you know?
I think we talked about, you wanted a.
Oh, yeah.
a system, you can better explain
It,
it. And this is actually going to improve the program significantly.
I'd like to change our mooring system. Right now, we have an outdated Excel sheet program for our mooring renewals, and you can go to an online system nowadays where everything, I can pull it up on my phone, you pull it up on a computer, and to send out mooring renewals, all I have to do is press a button instead of folding 390-something mooring renewals by hand and
Yep.
receiving them all back in.
Yep.
Everything could be paid through the online service, no more checks coming in and out. If you would like to do it by hand, you can mail a check in still, but it'd be significantly less than how we're doing it now. And you could pull it right up online, where your moorings are, how it's set up, and all the information would be there handy, instead of doing spreadsheets for the boat and all this outdated systems.
Great.
And that was roughly $1,500. We looked into it previously between two different vendors. And that would be a setup cost, and then there's also a cost per mooring.
But, and it does have the ability for people to pay online.
Online,
right?
correct.
Excellent. And then just going back to the motors, can I, just with Hondas, with all of the steering gear and stuff, we're talking somewhere around 17,000 to 18,000 for two engines?
No, 39,000 for two
39.
engines.
Okay. And then for the Yamahas, we were looking at?
49.
49, okay, got it. That's it, thank you, appreciate it.
Jennifer?
So I'm sorry, I thought I understood now, my brain just got scrambled. So, two engines at 17, 1,500,
There are two different prices for,
or two engines at 18,000?
for the,
These are the two quotes. And
So-
the engines themselves are broken out in increments, and then there's the setup, for instance. And so
Oh, okay.
on the
So it's-
on the Yamahas, it's just straight out, it's 24,130 for one of the engines, 24,695 for the other engine, and $110, or rather $440 labor to put them onto the boat. That's the Yamahas, but that tallies down to 49,290. The replacement with the Hondas, the engines, there's labor of 110 to,
$200 for 20 hours worth of work.
right, yeah, $220, $2,200 worth of labor, $1,755 for one engine, $1,810 for the other engine, the counter-rotating, and then there's the box kit, the wiring diagram, and the dual ignitions, which are $455, $202, and $423, for a total of $39,000 and change, which is why if they, you break out just the engines, it gets confusing.
And the, what's the difference between a standard rotation and a counter? The counter goes like this,
Correct.
and the standard, they both go the
Standard will go
same
right,
way?
counter will go left. It would be twin application boat. If you put them both on, both standards, it would want to pull one way. It balances out.
Okay.
It's needed to have two different, if you have two different twin engines on a boat, you have to have a counter.
What happens if we don't have a boat?
Don't have engines.
What happens if we don't have engines?
The no wake zones would not be regulated, no wake buoys will not be going in. If you don't pay mooring, I can't go out there and tag it. If you'd like to put a mooring in, I can't go out there and let you know where to put it or
So
approve it.
no one can put in their mooring?
Correct.
Okay.
If they have an existing mooring, they can put it in, but if they like a new mooring, because they bought a new house, or they have repairing rights, or they're on the list,
And does anything happen to the town of Tiverton with CRMC or DEM if we don't, if we're not regulating our mooring system because we don't have, like?
We are, our ability to regulate, or our ability to collect fees for the moorings is a function of our getting the blessing of the coastal to manage the harbor fields. And if we're not managing the harbor fields, I haven't asked that question because I don't want to have somebody say,
So if we don't
what are
manage
you
them,
doing?
some other town, Portsmouth might, or Little Compton might be
I
able
don't
to
know,
manage.
I don't know as another town could, but it, in theory, would be possible for an individual to propose
So
a management plan.
without boats that work, we could risk collecting our 50,000 and taking care of our own.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Deb?
So Tyler, you've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years.
correct.
How can you be a harbor master without a boat? It's just,
It's very difficult.
They were doing, he doesn't want to say it out loud in public, but they were doing.
We expect you to swim out there.
His boat sometimes, the assistant's boat sometimes, but the liability factor on that is huge.
huge, I'm sure,
He
I'm sure.
was yelled at by more than one person more than once for doing that, not because he's putting the town at risk, but he's putting himself at risk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get it.
So I guess I'm wondering why we don't have that on our capital list for this year.
That's why I said in the beginning that initially I put actually 44,000, which was then the estimate, in the capital budget request. Then I learned that that would mean another season without a boat. So I said, well,
I
one way
see.
or another, we need to get the money
I
sooner.
see. Okay.
So you're actually talking about a current year expenditure. We may need to put something into next fiscal year if the only solution is to do a payment plan and, some of the money can be paid later.
Okay.
But yeah,
I know you
totally
did,
belongs
you
in
did
capital.
say that, and I just didn't understand that. Yeah, I think we have to have it. It's imperative. It's liability, and we're not taking in the revenue that we should be taking in, so. Yeah, I mean, you do a great job, Tyler.
Thank you.
But I think it's hard to be a harbor master without a boat, right?
I just have two questions. With the purchase of new motors, what is the warranty that comes along with them? And what do you project the life of that motor to be?
With commercial motors, there's only a 1-year warranty on those. But commercial, the expectancy of life, 10 to 15 years, up to, it all depends how you take care of them and how they're maintained. As of right now, we have about, I think, 3,500 hours on these. But these were 2002, 2003 outboards, and we received the boat 7, 8 years ago. So there's a lot of time where DEM had it and they were offshore with it, so that doesn't help the life expectancy of those motors. So.
If you don't ask it.
Joe?
I was just, probably don't, before we had this boat, the previous boat, I guess, had broke down too, and they were able to get this one from DEM, and I'd questioned then whether or not it needed 2 engines, but it was 2 engines on the boat. So my question would be now, you're saying the boat's in good shape, why can't we just slap one Honda 4-stroke right in the middle?
Won't even get up on a plane.
Well, we're a tiny harbor out here. We got along with one motor on a boat for many years. I mean, it's a tiny harbor.
Completely different animal. The boat is.
You can't, you're not supposed to make a wake out there anyway, so, I mean, why would you need to get up on
How would you like me to
plane?
get to Fogland? Or the oil tanks on a Tiverton Fall River line?
You're telling me that, say, 250 horsepower motor won't push you across our harbor?
Won't get the boat on a plane.
Well,
That will drastically reduce the life expectancy of that one engine, because you're
Well,
making it
then-
do double the work.
my second suggestion would be, is what I brought up years ago. We have more than one boat in the town. The fire department also has a boat sitting in the water all the time. And I had suggested that they share that boat, that the harbor master uses the fireboat. And when they need it, if they need it, they can radio and he can go back over to Standish and pick them up there and he can get off and they can use the boat. But when the boat's not in use, and we don't use that fireboat very often.
Right.
So we do have a second boat and we could continue operation if we were willing to work and consolidate with the fire department. I have the floor, please let me finish. So that would be my second suggestion. That only has one motor, and it gets around our harbor fine. But I'd like to see proof that we couldn't put just one large motor right in the middle, because I don't, speed to me is not important out there. I mean, you're just driving, getting moorings and setting out stuff. I mean, as far as going out and chasing, people that are making a wake, you can move along fast enough. I mean, I know, that's just my opinion. I think we could get away with putting one motor in the center. You already said the new motors come with all the controls, steering, shifting, and throttle, so, I don't know. That's just my belief. I'd like to see that before I vote for 2 motors.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
And just one quick.
Wait, I was gonna come back to you.
That's
Just a second, I was gonna come back to Ruth.
Oh, okay.
And
So-
I'm gonna-
Just to clarify what, I don't know who was over here saying something about not getting the fees. We do get the mooring fees anyway without a boat, but we don't get fines perhaps, is that correct? We don't get fines if someone does something.
We don't have any new revenue that will be coming from moorings.
But you still get the usual,
Correct.
whatever, around 50K per year from the mooring fees. Yeah, I just want to make sure that's clear.
There is the risk. That our ability to collect those fees, our legal right to collect those fees, is based upon the permission given to us by CRMC. And that is also a function of us having a viable harbor management plan, which we do have. We have to renew it, we have to update it. But the question becomes one of, part of your harbor management plan is you have to manage the harbor. And if we don't have a boat that can manage the harbor, do we have a viable plan? And I haven't asked that question because it's one of those, you don't want to have someone say, why are you asking that question?
Where are the laws written for that?
Those are written codified in the Rhode Island General Laws and the regulations of CRMC.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer?
Kyle, if you have a boat that only has one engine, how much longer will it take you to get to Fogland?
I don't even believe the boat will get up on plane, so, I mean, that's possibly an hour. or two.
So
If
it would
do- if
take you,
if
it would
do-
take
If the boat does
you,
not get on plane, you're looking at, I don't know, 8 to 12 miles an hour.
so to do the same job, we would need to pay you double time.
Correct.
Thank you.
Can I respond to that? Basically, when you're going from mooring to mooring, I don't know that speed is really a requirement, I'm just mentioning. It isn't. They're all quite close together in each of the mooring. I had a sailboat, so I know. They're, in general, close together, so that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of feeling that Joe's idea is one to consider in some way, maybe.
Okay. Okay, my only comment, I have one final question. The Honda and the Yamahas, those are the two that you have so far gone out to. Just about the service and the dealers, so, and you don't have to go into names or anything, I don't want you to, but just in general, are both dealers in town that you would procure from? I'm just curious.
No.
Is one, so one dealer is not in town. For a service, does that make a difference? Like, is there any, these are gonna be new, so we're gonna assume they're not gonna break down like every summer for a while, long time. Does that make a difference? Like, we winterize it, do we winterize it once? Like, is it gonna make a big difference if they're not in town, the dealer?
The boat hasn't been in town since I've started this job.
Okay, so we take it away service anyway?
Correct, just on Quinnick Island.
Okay, so we don't, okay, I didn't know if it made a difference or not, if the dealer's off the island or not. I didn't know if it made a difference. Okay. Oh, out of town or not, I said the wrong thing, thank you. Okay, what's that? Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Bruce and Tara.
Thank you, that was most informative.
Yeah, we all learned something about boats in the middle of winter. Okay.
The anachronism for boat, you realize the word boat is an anachronism, don't you? You should know what it is.
Break out another 1,000.
Exactly.
It's a what?
Break out another 1,000.
Yeah.
It's not-
Everything fun costs money, I don't listen.
I'm gonna find the same one for having a Jeep. It's not much different. It's not much different, a Wrangler. Okay, so we move on to we have a couple more people in the audience, so we want to get through these, and we're gonna hand over to Ruth here. So, and we've got time, so we're gonna move here. Number 16, discussion and preliminary vote on Economic Development Commission budget. Do we have someone here to represent the Economic Development Commission? We do. Everyone, let's find the budgets here. Let's keep moving here.
Page 11.
Thank you very much, Brendan, for helping with that.
Just a comment to tie in with the previous presentation. I've occupied about 300 feet on our 15 miles of waterfront, and I think for 50-odd years, I think that it's awfully essential that we have a harbor master who can actually get around on the water, because I see the boats coming in, visiting, moored out front all summer long, and I would think that for our economic development of our waterfront, he needs a motor. He really does, or two motors.
Okay, thank you very much. Name, please?
Barbara Pelletier.
Oh, Barbara Pelletier. Okay, do you know everyone here?
Yes, I do, thank you.
Great. Okay, take it away, Barbara.
Well, I'm on the Economic Development Commission. I'm not the head of it. Renee is, Renee Jones. I think that we are sort of trying to find our way of what to do. Wouldn't you agree? That we are trying to find out what we can do and what we can't do. And I discussed with Mr. Weitzman last week that perhaps one of the better ways to get information out of what we can do and what is possible in the town is to have something posted on the website. So we might want to develop a website for economic development that would present the various directions we could possibly go, like the development of industry or business, or the development of tourism. And because I was your former tourism representative to Newport, I think that's one of our big strengths in trying to get money in is through tourism and the meal tax especially, because that has been on an uptick for the last 10 years or so. So anything we can do for that, I think would be good. Because generally, housing development, getting housing in costs money because of the school load. So I don't know. Mr. Reitzman?
I would just say that, yes, I think there's a discussion needed of what the Economic Development Commission has done, is doing, should be doing in the future. I don't think this is the place to have that discussion, with all due respect. I think the question is, what is the budget request for? It is a level budget request. Once again, or still, the commission, I believe, proposes to do a flyer. I think it's interesting to hear that maybe as an alternative, you could look at a website. That kind of expense is needed. Additional public education is needed, and sometimes supplies are needed to be able to get communications out. I think it's extremely modest budget for something that could be a much bigger operation, and maybe should be a much bigger operation in this town, to do something about economic development. But for the time being, this is what keeps the group going, and the group, I think, is committed to working with both the town council and myself, to set an agenda. And the other thing I want to mention is that they work closely with the regional economic development people, and that's a very important function as well.
Thank you. Jennifer, any questions?
I just have one. It's not a line item, but are people actually taking something in? So it's printing out brochure. Where does this go? How do people obtain it?
Well, we haven't actually published one yet. For one thing, we haven't really had funds until the very past year. We've been in existence for almost 2 years, but we haven't really had any funds. So we're trying to find our way of what we can do and not do. And it's difficult because, for instance, planning or zoning doesn't really inform us of what might want to come into town. So we're sort of hanging at the loose in times. And so I think it's a matter of getting communications all ironed out, which is not the function of this meeting or anything like that. But I think if we get the level funding, that would be great, so we can just edge our way into being an economic powerhouse.
Okay. Yep. Jennifer? Jennifer?
A brochure might be available here at Town Hall, at the library, and then something that people could download, maybe?
Right, and I think the way that people think now, they think more technology than actually picking up something somewhere where it just gets then tossed away. I think that if it gets known that we have a website that actually is of help, then people would access it online. But those are just my thoughts, and I'm not an electronic person by any means, but I think it's probably
It would be really nice to have a list where you could go to of all the different businesses in town, Tiverton Four Corners, Bliss Four Corners, just a quick access that gives you a map and spearheads points.
Well, we're trying to collect, for instance, the email addresses of businesses, because there's no list in town. And there are a lot of little things that would be helpful. And if on the main town website we have a link to an economic functioning, easily usable website, I think that would be a great thing.
Okay, thank you.
Brendan?
I'm all set, thanks.
Sherry?
How many people are on this board?
5.
And how many, and all positions have been filled?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
I have no question. Ruth?
On the maps that you were desiring, there is Google Maps, obviously, that most people now use to find businesses of all kinds, of any kind. So I'm just mentioning that as a possible way to save the money on that. I know this, for economic development, that there's another issue I'm curious about, Airbnb, and what we're going to do in town on the laws of that. I've
We
lived
have,
in an area where...
I have been pushing that at town council meetings for 6 years at least, because it is a great source of income to communities that actually collect. And most communities actually do have some sort of policy for Airbnb and for summertime rentals or seasonal rentals. So if Tiverton eventually does that, puts that in place, I think that'll be an additional source of income.
How could we get that
Well, you
guideline in
I have
place?
no
here?
idea. Already
Yes,
know-
I can talk to that, and again, I think this is a policy issue that
Okay,
is for
that's
the
fine.
town council.
Not now,
and We
then,
are
yeah.
working on it.
My last thing is, do you work with, so yeah, I was going to ask if you work with the other departments and that communication, yeah, please do what you can with that to make it efficient.
Right.
That's all.
Tom?
Thanks, Barbara. Thanks for all your work.
You're welcome.
Almost said, thanks, Barbara.
Thank you for
Okay,
your work.
great.
I have no questions.
Joe?
Moving in the right direction, as usual.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Barbara.
Thank you.
Okay, so now what I'd like to do is move from number 16 to number 17, boards and commission budgets. And I'd first like to, once we get into number boards and commissions 6210 on page 11 of the January 14 budget, I'd first like to, I'm just going to read them off, and if anyone's in the room who represents them, just please put your hand up. I can't see everybody over there, so I can't really tell. So is there anybody here from Historical Cemetery Commission? Okay. Why don't you come forward and we'll address you, your commission, please. I want to make sure we address everyone in the room so you don't have to come back, because it might be snowing next time. So your name is?
Robert Martin.
Robert Martin, I
I'm
knew
a
that. Do you know
co-chair.
everybody?
Yeah.
I think you do. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mr. Martin. I'm going to just note here that your request is for 3,000, well, the town administrator is putting for you $3,300, which is 10% increase over 3,000. So, this is a one-line item. I would like maybe just ask you, like, what did you do with the 3,000 last year? And if you can do that in a sentence or two, and what do you foresee happening with the extra 300 this year? Maybe that's a good way to
Can
put
I
it.
ask a question?
Sure.
Were you able to look under the tab? Was that information?
I did not, and I apologize for that.
6.
I did all I could do to get here.
Yes, the first item in the tab, and it has a history. It goes back to 2001 all the way to the current year in terms of the request and what the allocation was.
Okay, so does anyone have, would Mr. Martin like to say anything himself then?
Yeah, I believe I requested $3,500, is that correct?
Well, the number here that's gotten to this committee
Is 3,000?
is 33,300.
33.
33,300.
Okay.
Okay,
So that's the increase.
would you like to make a statement, Mr. Martin?
No, that's
Okay,
fine.
that's fine. That being said, I will start on Joe's side. Joe, do you have any questions for Mr. Martin?
Only that I'm seeing cemeteries I never knew were there.
Okay.
I have no questions. Thank you for coming.
Jay?
No, your primary focus is just to identify and maintain, help maintain.
Yeah, we maintain right now 3 cemeteries on Main Road, 5 cemeteries on Crandall and Stafford.
Oh, okay.
And we cut once a month, $500 per month. So that's where the money comes from.
So that's mowing services
Right.
beyond what the parks and recreation get.
March, April, no, I'm sorry, April, May, June fiscal year stops, okay? And then we pick it up on the new budget. We go July through October.
It's fine.
We stop,
I'm like Joe, there's places on here I didn't know you had.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for what you do on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
No questions?
Great, and thank you for the piece that's here that gives the backup, and just
Right.
for the record, it looks like for the last 4 or 5 years, the request of around 3,000 and the funding of 3,000 is where it's at, so it's basically a small increase in terms of the request.
Because what's happening, a lot of the landscape guys are starting to increase charges and stuff.
And if I notice, I think it's in here, notice that the contract, or is that for one of the other line items? Another line item, but it's the same issue of the contract needing to increase prices due to fuel and equipment. Great, thank you.
Very good.
Jennifer?
Thank you, no question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martin. Thank you. The next one, is there anyone here from the Arts Council? Oh, Come forward. Okay, hello again, how are you?
Hello, yes. I'm sort of the default chair of the
Okay,
Arts Council
so-
with nobody else, no other committee, but I keep the exhibits going and
Okay.
so forth.
So your item is, your request is for $500.
Right.
I'll let you make a statement and.
Well,
see if
it
there are
goes
questions.
for the receptions that we have for the senior exhibits. It goes for things like the Christmas event when Santa comes, and a number of other events that I have sort of tipped the Arts Council to trying to get the community involved in the fact that we have an Arts Council, we don't need to be artists to have fun with art, that kind of attitude. For instance, the ornament, call for ornaments for Christmas actually didn't cost the committee anything because I got donations for $500 approximately that we used for prizes and so on, which I considered economic development because it was all within the community. So we're multifunctional, and I think that's the best way to run committees is to try to toenail them into doing. So if I can get another $500, I will work with that and raise whatever else funds I might need.
Okay. Thank you. Which side am I starting? This side. Joe, any questions?
I like how you said that you would raise any other funds that you'd need and that people are willing to do that. I think that's important too. It's like the football team who wants, the new jerseys, they're going to go out, they're going to knock on doors. I think
Right.
that's great that you're doing that.
No, and I think it involves the community. and
Yes,
It makes
100%.
everything work together, and I think that is the most important thing that we can do.
Thank you.
Jay?
No
anything?
comments.
Tom?
Thanks again, Barbara, for all the work.
No, ditto on Justin LaCroix's comments. Thank you very much.
All right, don't have any questions? Sherry?
No, but what I was going to say is there are people down in Four Corners that are interested, I think, in helping develop, that maybe we can try to get them together. They're interested in making a bigger arts community and.
Surprisingly, not really, because artists tend to be very arrogant about their art, maybe. And the Four
election.
Corners is not doing as well as I think that the perception is as far as extra loose money around there.
What's her name, Laura, the girl during the election that said that she wanted to expand? There's a girl down in, there's the museums down at Four Corners and the art galleries and
Yes,
stuff.
mhm.
They were interested in trying to expand and get
Oh,
more.
Roz Weir, whose husband developed the area, yes. Hopefully it'll go that way again. I've seen it go up and down. The Virginia Lynch Gallery was the kingpin for a long, long time. It was an attraction from far away, but unfortunately that has gone, so it.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing on trying to hold all these committees together.
You're welcome.
Great, nothing other than,
Oh.
thanks, I love, come by on Sundays when they do have the art openings and to see Town Hall open and to have artists in town being able to display their work. So
Right, yeah.
for the small amount that you requested that helps do receptions for whatever, it's great walking by and to see this place open for community-related sharing art by citizens.
Jennifer?
Piggyback that, and also, it's just so nice coming in and having the artwork up.
We'll be getting actually wallpaper manufacturer displaying whole panels of wallpaper that have been designed, and he's Tiverton-based.
Oh,
So that'll
fantastic.
be interesting. That'll be coming in within the next few weeks.
How many exhibitions do you try to run annually?
Well, at least 4 or 5. It depends on what I can get and how much time I have, et cetera.
Thank you.
Deb?
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone here from Open Space Commission? Come forward, please.
And there's information under the tab.
Correct. Mr.
Plunkett.
Plunkett, right?
Right.
Do you know everyone here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, okay. If you'd like to give an opening statement, I welcome that, or we can just ask questions. I give you the floor to make an opening statement. Your request is for $3,400.
Well, 3,400 in Fort Barton is 3,400 for open space.
It says right here, Open Space Commission, $3,400. Do you wear more than one hat?
Fort Barton is 3,200, is 3,200.
In the binder.
Okay.
Two accounts there. The Fort Barton is for Fort Barton and Senate Flesh Brook natural area. We also take care with the Land Trust Highland Woods in cooperation with them. They pay for most of that. And Weedamoo Woods is the open space area, the 600 acres we have down there with the 2 trailheads and parking areas. So the information's pretty much in your backup material. Plus, I think our annual report was added there today. So pretty much, we've been on a level budget now for, I think, about 8 years, and we're doing fine. We get a lot of contributions from people who are happy with what we have and have just voluntarily donated. And we raised some money for our big projects this year. The Trails booklet, which, as your backup shows, was a big project, helps economic development too. It's going on the website with a link to things to do in Tiverton. Dave Roberts has been lined up. He's agreed to do that, so that's going to be a big. Those booklets are going like hotcakes too. The Newport Discover Newport organization gave us $500, and so they got a lot of those. So they put them out down there. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, I ran into somebody up at Highland, the Pecasset Ridge area, who was from Newport. They came up from New York, saw one of those booklets, came up, went into Pecasset Ridge, and they were thrilled at what they saw. So we're getting some exposure.
Great.
Some really good, positive exposure from that. We are a destination now for open space and mountain biking, and this booklet is going to make it even better. So we had the big event this year, which was mostly non-budgeted money that paid for that, of the unveiling of the new historical marker for Fort Barton, and had the reception and the ceremony here. It was really a lot of fun and well attended. Got some good publicity for that too. So I think level funding would be great. I think we're making good use of that amount. So appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Jennifer, any questions? No questions. Deb?
Thanks for all you do. I walk Fort Barton at least 3 times a week, and I really appreciate it.
Same here, in Weedamoo to see the license plates, all during, all parts of the year is pretty amazing. The mountain bikers and hikers and cross-country skiers and everything else, so keeping that in great shape, appreciate it. Money well spent.
Thank you, Gary.
Where are these booklets? I'm sorry, where are the booklets you were talking about?
Well, there's some here in the town hall.
Okay,
Yeah.
just around different places?
Well, you can get them in there, and sometimes they put them out there too, so.
Okay.
Library, yeah, I
Along
keep the
those
stock
lines,
out there.
one thing else, other thing you can do besides the paper is do online, because there's a lot of websites that tell people what.
We have an online presence.
You do, okay, good,
Yes,
good, good.
yeah. Our website, you link, and boom, you got, the whole trail guide is on, will be online when
Soon.
Dave gets around to doing that, so
Okay.
that's going to be a great thing.
Okay, any issues in Weedamoo, anything, or anywhere that you want us to know about? No big problems, in other words, okay, smooth. And
Stand
then-
up with it.
Do you use volunteers to clear the
I
trails?
have about 8. Well, we have 7 on the commission. But most of the trail work comes with people who don't like to go to meetings and like to go out on the trails and work. So that includes me. So we get together. Generally, when there's something to do, we'll get a crew together and clearing trees and fixing a bridge or whatever. So a lot of our work is done just pro bono.
Thank you very much, and please thank the volunteers for us.
I do it all the time.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Gary.
As a father of 2 Boy Scouts and a young Girl Scout, I want to thank you. Every year that we've gone out on these trails, it seems like they get better and better. There's something I'll see and I'll say, oh, I don't even think about who's actually maintaining these, but the next year we go out, it's improved, it's better, and it's such a great time to be able to spend that with my kids, and I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
Just the same thing, great job.
Okay, I will have to say that the job, so many miles of trails that we talked about in your backup material, it's amazing in terms of just general trash and so on. There's very little of that because people like those trails so much, and when they start clean, it makes them a little less able to throw something over alongside the trail. So it makes our job a lot easier because people like it and it's clean when they get there. So they tend to keep it clean. So we're pretty proud of that involvement that a lot of which I'm not even aware of. It's just people just do it. So it's makes our job easier.
The scouts clean up pretty good.
Good, good.
Do they? That's
Great.
good.
Okay, thank you. Jan, I have one question for you pertaining to the section 6210. So I just want to be clear, because I didn't quite catch it all. We just covered with Mr. Plunkett, Open Space Commission, did we not? Did we just cover Conservation Commission or no? Okay. We covered FORPART and maintenance in the budget. We covered open space, FORPART and maintenance. So in the budget then, those are the two in the budget document that we covered, correct? I just want to be clear. We didn't cover the third one. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Okay, is there anybody here from the next one would be, we already asked open space, didn't we?
Correct, yep.
Conservation, sorry. Is anybody here from Conservation Commission? We're back and good here. Jan did a good job. Hi, how are you?
Good, you?
Good. Do you know everyone here?
I know Joe. I don't know her name.
Okay, I don't know your name.
Basically,
What
that's
is your name?
See, I'm famous.
What's your name?
Connie Fleckenstein.
Hi, Connie. Okay.
I'm on the Conservation Board.
Okay.
But I don't spend the money, so I don't know what to tell you.
Okay.
All I do is listen, and I try to evaluate, and come with a good, come with a decent decision. But I'm on the Tree Commission, and I know where the money goes there.
Okay, so can we talk first about the conservation? I know you don't know where
what do you want?
Well, I want to add, Jan, can we address that one now? Is this a proper adjustment? A proper, okay, great. So, help me out here. Conservation Commission is $1,000 request.
Yeah.
You're on the commission, right? How many people are on the commission?
5, I believe.
5, okay. And maybe you can help me just a little bit, I've never been to a Conservation Commission meeting. What do they do? What do you do?
Well, right now, we're contemplating whether we should have a solar farm or something like that. We just okayed one solar farm.
Okay.
Down at, down near Neck Road.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple more coming up.
Okay, so you get involved in the background behind some of these planning
and we,
issues.
ask questions and try to come up with a answer.
Great.
The commission frequently reviews matters that come before the planning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so under certain conditions, those cases go to the Conservation Commission for advice or recommendations. And I should say, there is a broad range of issues that the Conservation Commission deals with or tries to deal with. For example, something you wouldn't necessarily think about, underground storage tanks. Tom Malinsky has been on that for a long time, and I think the commission has been pushing successfully, at least with me, to suggest that we start doing something about the smaller tanks that are not being regulated by the state and that still pose a hazard to groundwater and et cetera. And that's a very important function, I believe. We're working on how we can get that program to be a little bit stronger. And I believe that the Conservation Commission is interested in doing more public education as well about the environmental issues in town. That's what I got from Tom Romatowski. So.
Tom who? Romatowski?
Romatowski.
Yeah. You got the whole crew on there.
There's a lot of underground tanks.
I'm gonna ask Jan, since you said Jan, do you know what they spend 1,000 on? I'm gonna plead ignorance again in the binder, because.
Yeah, I have to blame myself, because
Sorry.
I think Tom wrote me something about it. I'm not sure there's much.
Tom Ramatowski?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't have it in my head right now,
Okay.
but,
And I should, but I don't.
There's nothing there.
because I believe the budget request was rather general.
I'm just, it's something, that if it's something readable, then that can be done anytime.
But I know he just emailed me, and I'm sorry, I didn't bring the email, but.
Okay.
So this just says information on flyers for taxpayer homeowners. Do we get a flyer sent out to everybody?
I think that's what they want to do.
Okay.
And I think they have in the past, if I'm not mistaken, before my
So just
time.
postage and paper, that would cost.
Right.
Then
So
maybe they
increase
have
it, for
something back here
example,
too? Do they
you
tend
have
to put things back here?
Yeah. You have areas like the watershed protection districts where it's really important that we work with property owners to better understand, how you should be dealing with your septic systems. That's a huge issue, and that's what the wastewater commission works on, or the district works on, but the Conservation Commission is very involved in that as well. Increasingly, we're dealing with stormwater issues, and, better stormwater management on property that you own is an important thing to work on. The Conservation Commission will be involved in that. I think increasingly it will become involved in things like climate change as well, and what needs to be done about that. So.
I'm satisfied. Thank you for pointing that out, Jennifer. Does anybody, before we move on to tree, does anybody have any questions on Conservation Commission for anybody? Just
a quick one. Do you get involved in, like, if there's a solar farm or some building going up, if there's some protected species of animal, do you get involved in that kind of thing, or not? Conserving?
If it was presented to us, yeah.
Or even plants and trees? I'm just curious kind of what you advise when.
Trees go with the tree.
Okay, I'll let you go to that. That's
Okay.
make you upset.
Any other questions? Any questions? Okay, great. Thank you very much for the Conservation Commission hat. We already dealt with Fort Barton Park Maintenance, so I will now turn to Tree Committee, and that will be you again.
That's me.
And you are the chair of that one, or you're involved with
I
the
am.
money on that one?
I'm the treasurer.
Oh, okay.
I'm the one that spends the money.
Great. So the money for that one is, I'm looking here, is it 30, no, is it 500?
500.
500. Okay,
Yeah.
take it away.
Okay, what we have done so far is 2 years ago, we planted an orchard, a community orchard at the library, because we have a lot of low-income families in Tiverton, and we have a lot of seniors who are on fixed incomes. So if they want to come to the library and pick to their heart's content whatever is available, they can pick it and take it home, and it won't cost them anything. But we planted 10 apple trees, 2 pear trees, and we would like to plant 2 peach trees, and that would give us a nice little orchard in town. We also planted some milkweed, because we need to attract bees and we need to attract butterflies, because they're the pollinators of your food. When you'll be eating your food, you'll have to think it was pollinated by a bee or a butterfly. So we planted some milkweed and we planted a wildflower. We're going to plant a wildflower section. And we're hoping that that is going to be, I don't know the right word. It's going to be
Successful.
productive. And if it is productive, we'll just plant some more. That's what we're doing with the Tree Commission.
Thank you.
There's one other item that Tom Malinsky had brought to my attention, that the commission is involved and works with the Grinnell's Beach Commission as well. to do some of the planting there, yeah. And that project, together with the Stonebridge abutment project, is about to be completed. The abutment project is done, Grinnell's Beach will be done, and so they're going to be part of the landscaping there.
You're gonna have a big budget for down there.
Yeah,
That's a different bucket, I think.
so that's basically it. That's what we do.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the tree committee?
I have one about Grinnell's Beach. On planting trees, the view there is very important to people in town. So I'm just wondering about the trees, and are they going to block the view?
I don't know what they plan on planting as far as trees go, but I know they want to put the beach rose bushes.
Okay.
And some beach grass.
That sounds better, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, that'll help with the erosion, too.
Yeah.
That was on the
Yeah.
front though, right?
Yeah, we want to keep the sand on the beach.
Is that Peter Moniz tree? Peter Moniz on the tree committee? Is it?
No.
Well, I thought he was.
No, he's on the tree commission.
Okay, different.
Yeah. Yeah, he's on the tree commission.
Did you already plant some at the beach? Because something was planted at some point recently.
I think the beach committee and Trish in particular she always mobilizes the volunteers. They've done some initial plantings already, but
Yeah.
Very nice,
But
thank
there's
you.
more to do, you know.
And we thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, one more question. We had Jan telling us about the seawalls and erosion on the shores. Is there anything that you're going to coordinate with his efforts to plant certain types of plants to stop the erosion up and down Tiverton's shores? Is there something you can do along those lines? Or maybe Jan, either of you?
I think
Plant-wise.
that's because of, something that the beach grass does.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All set.
Okay, thank you very much.
What?
Is there anybody here from,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
just spent $500.
Is there anybody here from the recycling committee? Personnel board? Historical Preservation Advisory Board? Okay. Okay, so yeah, it's 9:15 now, so our time is, I want to get Ruth back on this, and then I want to wrap the meeting up. So we're going to do this one, and it looks like this will be the last one where we have a guest up until Rick, which Ruth is going to handle. So let's do this one now, please.
Susan Anderson is the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. She's extremely knowledgeable in town, and we're lucky to have her. She's very dedicated. She is requesting, and her passion is to get signage at some of our historic sites and areas, which for a historic town like Tiverton just makes sense. And I think that would be a good investment if we actually know where our historic locations are. So any amount of money spent on that, I think, would be very, very well spent.
Okay, so the initiative is, the 2,500, the initiative is for signage.
For signage,
Okay,
that
thank
would be extremely well spent, so that people coming in could see that we have a pride in our historic town and all of that.
Thank you.
And I think that's
Pretty self-explanatory.
self-explanatory,
Thank you.
yes.
I'm just going to ask broadly, any questions on that? Jennifer?
So Susan Anderson, it looks like requested 5,200. And can either of you speak to the amount in the proposed budget of 2,500 instead?
Right, and so it's a new request. They haven't been in the budget before, I believe, and I totally support the idea of getting signage up for the other historic districts as well. There was some question whether we should be able to find grant money, and Susan has tried. She has so far not succeeded, but I felt that if we give this much money, or we appropriate this much money now, it can be used as leverage to get other grants. And I do think, and we need to help commissions like this that don't really have, sometimes the expertise or the experience to do the grant stuff, and I wish we had more capacity here in the planning department. But we will work with them to try and find additional sources of funding to do some more signage.
In terms,
By the way, there's also, I just learned this, but I went to the comprehensive plan, and there are some suggestions in there for this particular commission, and hopefully they will get involved in that as well.
okay, great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Just one, I'm sorry.
I was just going to ask what material you were thinking these would be made of.
I believe that Susan is hoping to match the ones down at the Tiverton Four Corners, which I would. So we would have a cohesive look.
So who made those? I'm just wondering if we can,
I don't know who
I'm
made
just
them.
wondering if we can get the schools involved. I don't know if
I think
that's,
that would be a great idea. And may I add that sometimes, like for the Arts Council, there are grants available, but they ask the town to match. And we've never, ever, I could have gotten a number of times Arts Council grants, and I'm sure Susan for historic purposes. But the difficulty is that these grant givers want a commitment from the community, and we have no backup money. So then you're left hanging. So I think we could have maybe a contingency fund in the future. Would you not suggest that might be good?
I totally agree with that, and I think you've seen some matching grant funding proposals in the capital budget. We really should have it on the operating budget as well. However, I also think that the boards and commissions that could and should be going after grants, they probably should have a plan in terms of, and do some legwork first, maybe with our help as to, here are the grants that are available, we want to go after the following, and for that reason, we asked the council and the budget committee to appropriate a certain amount of money. It's sort of a chicken and the egg type of situation.
Are there any other questions?
Just,
Go ahead, Joe.
you're not talking about the National Registry plaques that go on the houses, you're talking
No,
about...
no, those are actually funded by the people who own the house.
You're talking
the
about
houses.
signs on the side of the road?
Yes.
Just to point out that this neighborhood or these houses are part of that register.
And by the way, those individual house signs are a great, great bargain, because Susan does an immense amount of research. So not only do you get the plaque for like $40 or $45, you get the whole history, the background of the house. So, I mean, if anyone can possibly, with a historic house, get one, get it. It's a bargain. It really is. And it doesn't profit. I think we make $5 a piece on them or something like that. It really is.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No, but this goes back to the economic development. This is the type of thing I'd like to know. I didn't know that you could apply and purchase, and some money would go back to the town. To have, it would be nice to have a plaque, but also have a way to know that this is available. I didn't, and I'm glad to know about it.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Can't really ask.
The more we know, the better off.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so the next one on the agenda, we Budget Committee, obviously, we're going to skip over that.
Why are we 1250 to 500?
I think we didn't use it.
We didn't use it?
Conversation at the beginning.
But,
I don't know.
how much does it's used for our videotaping, and our videotaping,
I think we have some accumulated, don't we? I don't know, I'd like to, can we, we've got some other ones to address here.
Okay.
I'd like to just use the time differently, if
That's
we
fine,
could. Jen.
that's fine.
Okay.
If
Is there
we-
anybody in the room, I didn't want to address these for time, but if there's anybody here from Civic Appropriations right now? Is there anybody here from Civic Appropriations?
There is a person, and ironically, she's here from an organization that's not listed in the budget. And I think the request came in either late, or I don't know exactly what happened. You should have something in your binder on the wildlife rehabilitators. But somehow we don't have a line item for it. But I suggest that you maybe hear from the representative here, so you understand what they're doing. I believe the background information explains to what extent Tiverton in particular benefits
Okay.
from their work.
Is there anybody else in the room for civic options, civic item, the civic appropriations? Okay. I'm going to give this just a couple of minutes, especially since it's not on the list. I'd like to entertain a motion to add this to the agenda.
Was that a motion?
No,
or-
add, what is the wildlife title, please?
I'll make that
Yeah.
motion.
And it's also, there is actually an account apparently, which
Okay.
is, the
Just
sub-account
the title, on the title.
is 7764 Wildlife Rehabilitators.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion to add that to the agenda.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to add the wildlife, what was the name again? Rehabilitation to the
A second,
agenda.
please. Thank you. A vote, please. Okay, please come forward. We're under the gun right now for time, and I've just added you in, and we've got a lot to do, and time's running out. So I'd like to ask very briefly, and I don't mean to rush you, but given the circumstances, I'd like to give you a few minutes. So,
Sure.
First of all, how big is your request? And I apologize for that, just how big is your request?
The request is for $2,124.
Did you get money last year?
Not from Tiverton,
Okay. Any past years?
not from Tiverton.
Okay, thank you. So, what will you, and I apologize, I'm not up to speed on this
Sure.
item especially. So, in 2 or 3 sentences, can you
Sure.
explain what you would do with this money?
Sure. The money that's requested is to help cost of care for wild animals and birds that we receive from the town of Tiverton. We're the only organization in the state of Rhode Island that provides direct care to injured and orphaned wildlife.
Okay.
So Rhode Island DEM delivers, Audubon refers, Norman Bird Sanctuary refers, Town Animal Control refers. So we do about 5,000 birds and animals a year.
Okay,
Private, nonprofit.
okay. I see. So this money would help care for those animals.
It's specifically the amount this is for 2017 numbers. It's actually not complete numbers. Those are only the animals that go to the wildlife clinic directly. I live in Common Fence, and I have several rehabbers licensed here in Tiverton. So the animals that we receive directly from the public aren't even covered in this. So this is really only a portion of the animals we receive from the town.
Okay.
Um,
Does anyone have any questions? I'm just gonna go, which side was I on now? Joe, any questions?
Only that years past, we had not funded this. I think it was just a thought that we can't ask, senior citizens living on fixed incomes to pay for everything. So that's the bottom line.
Thank you, Joe. Justin?
How many towns do you receive funding from?
So we just received from Barrington. They're all on different schedules. We received from Charlestown, Bristol, Warren. We received from Burrillville, Coventry. I believe we're receiving from Providence for the first time this year.
And did they reach out to you, or did you guys reach out to them? How did that
We send
happen?
letters out every November to all of the towns in the state of Rhode Island, and we give them the numbers of animals we receive. These numbers are actually from 2017 because we send the letters in before the end of the year, so I don't have the final numbers.
Okay.
So that's
Great.
how we send it out.
Thank you.
Jake?
So I assume what you get from all the towns covers vet services?
No.
No.
No, we're volunteers. So I've been a volunteer executive director since 2003. My veterinarians, Dr. Meredith Bird and Dr. Chi Chan, as well as Dr. Lucy Spellman from Ocean State, are volunteers. My home rehabilitators are volunteers. The only staff that we cover are a handful of people that actually work at the wildlife clinic. The rest of us are 98% of the organization is volunteer. Because no funding otherwise exists for what we do. And without licensed people in the state of Rhode Island, those animals are technically supposed to all be euthanized. So,
Okay, thank you.
Tom?
So the money you're asking for basically goes to salaries for the staff that you talked about?
no,
Not
it-
the vol-
no, not for staff. It basically goes for cost of care of animal
Oh,
care. So
I
food
see.
supplies,
Medicine,
medications, if we have to do anything with caging. Right now, we have a black vulture that we receive from Tiverton. He's been with us for about 2 months, and he will be released when the weather gets better. He has one eye.
But he's an expensive
Yeah.
house guest, so that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
This does not cover feral cats, right?
No, no.
Okay.
Wild species only.
Okay, thank you. And how do you get in touch with the organization? It's on the website? and you can just-
The website, yep, we have a website, we have a Facebook page.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I'm all set, thank you, Sherry.
What other, I mean, do you have any other animals right now what kind of animals do you get?
Today, we received a barred owl that got hit by a car and was on the white line near Grace. So he's at the clinic, although he seems to be doing pretty well, so I suspect he'll come back pretty quickly. We get a lot of seagulls because of Long Grinnell Beach. They will cross over and they get hit, going back and forth for the little inlet that you have there. We receive, for some reason, we get a lot of bunnies from Tiverton. I don't know what's going on over here, but I get a lot of bunnies.
We have a lot of bunnies.
So-
Okay, thank you.
Brendan?
No, other than thank you. I think, for some of these appropriations, trying to tie what's done on behalf of the community, so to have 2017 to know how many, it's here in town, it's not sort of aggregated, so I appreciate that.
One is, how do we get a hold of you if we have an animal?
Your animal control officer knows
Okay,
how to reach
all right.
us, certainly.
And
And
then-
we'll also give out our phone number, too.
I'm thrilled you're here, and I appreciate what you're doing. A long time ago, I picked up a couple animals with my kids at 2 different walks in the woods, and had to take them to, I don't know, it was about 20 miles away, to the first person we could find. And so it's wonderful that we have an agency in town that's helping us. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Deb?
What was the amount that you were asking for? I'm sorry.
The amount that's requested in this is for 2,124, and that was for the animals received in 2017. And again, just a portion really of what we received, because I live in Common Fence, so I get a lot of animals from Tiverton, as you can imagine.
Oh, wow.
Those numbers aren't included in this.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I don't have any questions, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay. So, I'd like to now entertain a motion. I think I would need a motion to go, first of all, I want to get 2 motions really quickly. The first motion is to take items, no, let's just entertain a single motion initially, go back to number 9. Could I have a motion to go back to agenda item number 9, please?
I'll make the motion to go back to agenda item number 9.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor? Great, okay. Opposed? Okay, so unanimous. Ruth, why don't you take over with number 9 where we were, which is streetlight budget. Rick, where are you? I think we had I'm just gonna start this off quickly. We had some kind of question about this and it came back up, so we just want to answer that question. There's a single question, right? Go ahead, Ruth. I'm gonna go use the
Yes,
restroom.
so Rick and Jan, you were going to be doing some analysis on this? Is that the one?
We were, and I, in the meantime, sent you a copy of analysis that actually had been done by Denise.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay, so that is the additional information that was provided, indicating what the cost has been for street lighting over a number of years, including before we converted to LED lights. And so it does confirm that the cost is coming down. It's not coming down quite as fast as we had hoped, in part because of the implementation of the LED conversion took longer than had originally been planned. So the savings started to come in a little bit later. And then last year, we did begin to see the savings. We also got a rebate from National Grid and the Office of Energy Resources. We're actually supposed to get an additional rebate. So it has come down further. I will say that analysis might suggest that we only need, I think it is in the $68,000 range or so. Actually, Denise believes that we need to be more conservative, and the request in the budget is for $120,000. And that is because she has looked at, again, how much has actually come in. Now, when we say $120,000, I would say it's closer to that number of $104,000 that we spent in 2018, I believe. and the trend is still down. So the overall news is good that we keep going down from where we were several years ago in terms of how much we had to pay for the electricity for street lighting. But Denise believes we need to be somewhat conservative in this next year so that she doesn't get caught not having enough money if the bills come out a little bit higher than we had thought.
Okay, Rick, did you want to speak to the street lighting at all? Okay, just, that's Jan's, okay. Anybody have any comments and questions to start with you, Jen?
So yeah, you said you thought possibly we'd be somewhere around the 104, but we're asking for 120. Is there a range if we decided to adjust that you would be comfortable at? If we were at 110 instead of 120?
I can't really say that I can tell you one way or another. I think it's fair to lower it a little bit, but this was not like a negotiation strategy or anything. And it really was Denise's best estimate as to what we should have in the budget. But I can understand, I think she will understand as well, but right now, it's hard to project, for better or worse. It's just, the implementation of the program has been not on a straight line, so it's difficult to say exactly what we need, but I defer to Denise really on matters like that.
Deb? Jennifer?
Just knowing Denise, she's one of the most frugal coupon cutting persons I've ever met. And if she says 120, I would take her for her word.
And I just, in the sheet that we have here, the 2019, that's for the first 6 months? Is that, in essence, what?
That may be what it is, I don't know.
Assuming that's probably.
Oh, that's what it is, you're right.
5 months of PRISM and stuff, so the 48
Thank you
is
for
at
that.
at least doubling it is where we at. Great, I'm all set.
Thanks, Brendan. Sherry?
So does this include, like, if new street lights are needed or anything like that too, or just the maintenance of the current ones?
It's the electricity costs.
Just the electricity, okay.
So if new lights, there's some room in there for additional lights being installed. We're actually going through that right now to see where people are requesting and whether it makes sense to add or not, which is a decision the council ultimately has to approve. So there would be some room in there to increase the number of lights and therefore the electricity bill, but not a whole lot. We don't expect that to be a lot. The other stuff is more if we have to buy more equipment, and that would be more on the capital side.
Jeff?
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm okay with it. I understand Denise knows what she's talking about on this, but I just, looking at past years, I see 44,000 budgeted each past couple of years. So I have a little bit of, I'm not quite sure I'm totally clear on it, why it had to go up now.
It was totally underestimated.
Okay.
This is Denise's assessment. It was before my time that it was just not a realistic estimate. And I didn't know who made it, if it was the town administrator or the budget committee, but it was just way too low.
Yeah, the town administrator request and the department head request was 44,000 for last year.
I'm sure it was the town administrator's fault.
The actual.
17 and
What?
18, the actual for 17
The
and 18 was
actual,
104,
right.
so
Yes,
clearly it was
I see.
underfunded.
Yeah. Just wondering about, a little more about the reasons. Go ahead, Tom?
It wouldn't make sense unless you disregarded 2019, because it's only 5 months or something. That's implied by the PRISM maintenance comment below. So, yeah, if you strike 2019 and say, okay, this year it's 120,000, then it seems more reasonable to me. Otherwise, makes no sense.
Thank you. Jay?
Well, the only thing that got my attention on this was between 2017 and 2018 with National Grid, who was just delivering, we had an 83% drop. Direct Energy, who's an energy broker, did not show us that drop. And I bet you noticed that right off the bat. So we bought a lot less electricity but Direct Energy's fee didn't go down. So I'm kind of concerned about that, but then I've been told earlier this evening that we are going to, our Direct Energy contractor's up for renewal, either with them or somebody else, and I'm sure that's going to be addressed. And as far as 2019 goes, it's like Jan mentioned, that's got to be just for 6 months. And since we're sort of in limbo land on what our savings are going to really be because of delays in rebates and delays in completion of the project and everything else, it's really going to be hard to have a good firm number. So something over 100 or maybe less than 120 is going to be prudent.
Thank you, Justin.
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Joe?
Only that I think rates have gone up like 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, so I know that, I know everybody's home bills, we've seen the increase, I think it was almost like 18%, have gone up. So I can understand why, it might go up a little this year.
Okay. Thank you. Go on to the next item, number 10. It's Public Works Budget. Rick, you taking that? There's 3 items only. The capital plan is only what we're talking about. Right, right. Right, and the equipment replacement item. So it's not really the Public Works budget, it's the capital part of it.
Sorry,
Specifically, the equipment replacement.
what are we
Equipment
talking about,
on the
please?
capital, on the capital budget, Jennifer, is the equipment replacement. Number 10. It's, on the capital budget is page 3.
Okay, so, procedurally, do we need to vote to talk
No,
about
this
that?
is how we made a decision early on, if I may, Ruth. We made a decision early on that we're gonna handle the capital items as part of the main budgets. That's why I noticed it this way,
Okay,
right?
all right, thank you.
So Rick, just the 3 items for this year, you could speak to, perhaps? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. The first one is $30,000 for a used tractor to replace the 1985 Mack. And that's because A, it's a 1985, and B, because it needs about $15,000 worth of suspension work. So I feel that trying to find a used tractor that's hopefully 20 or so years younger for $30,000 will be a better expenditure of money than working on a vehicle that's 35 or so years old.
Okay, thank you. Go to the next one, and then we'll just ask questions all at the end.
Okay, the next one is a Mack truck with a plow and sander, and that's based on the expense of a previous purchase. And the rationale for that is to try to get the fleet upgraded to trucks that were all built in this century. And thus, we'd like to have vehicles that are less than, we have 292s, 293s, 299s, and eventually, as you see going through, we'd like to upgrade with new and used vehicles, so we have only the spare that's previous to the year 2000. And the first one we're looking for is a Mack to match the one 2014 and one 2015 that we have now.
Okay, thank you. And the third item, which is shop equipment?
Yes, that's just based on an assessment of the need to buy more equipment, toolboxes for the shop itself, and for things outside the shop that we take on jobs. But that is also used in the shop.
Okay, any questions on this budget? Start with Joe.
Only that I hope when we're looking at large trucks, that we can look maybe at what Penske and Ryder have available
Yes.
previously leased.
Yes, thank you, Joe. We've looked at PepsiCo for one thing. They're not used the salt or sand or plow the roads, so that's one of them. Penske, Ryder, not so much in the sense that they're driven by a lot of different drivers. So we're looking more at a truck from a fleet that's maintained, such as PepsiCo or Coca-Cola. But thank you.
We used to get all our trucks from Ryder, right up in Warwick, and you'd be surprised the prices. And because their fleet, everything's, documented as far as the maintenance and everything. And I think they come with, you can get them with a warranty if you want to purchase the warranty. I don't know if you say the commercial vehicles, sometimes it's tough.
Yeah, we would definitely look around and price them and see what the maintenance has been on them.
For a sander truck, I just think if we were going for a frontline truck that wasn't going to be out in the weather, like you're talking about a tractor that's pulling an excavator. So, I mean, you want something very heavy, but for the sander trucks, I mean, we're using LN 8000s.
Yes.
So you can, I saw Ryder trucks comparable weight for like $23,000.
Right.
So,
And the future projection, Joe, thank you, is based on converting those and getting the plow kits and sander bodies put on them.
Thank you. Justin?
I have no questions.
Thank
Jay?
you.
I assume when you buy plow kits going forward, they're going to be hydraulic, adjustable from the cab,
That's
not
too
fixed.
easy.
Yeah, yes, and we'd like to get away from the gas-powered pony motors
Right.
in the back also. Yeah.
Hydraulic.
Exactly.
Still all hydraulic.
Yes. Go to a PTO.
Tom?
Thanks. No questions.
Okay. No questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Could you talk about, so the replacing the 1985 Mack with used, the Mack truck with the plow and sander, the almost 230,000 is a new vehicle, right, tricked out for what we need. Why do we need that? We've talked about different things where plowing could be contract. I suspect this has multiple purposes, not just for plowing, but we spent just a lot of time talking about why we need brand-new engines for a boat. Here's something that order of magnitude is 5 times the size of capital expense. So what's the rationale for the town forking out this kind of money and not doing something where would do this through a contract? Using a vendor or something like that to...
Right, we do use vendors. We have nine routes, so we use 9 DPW plows, and we use 9 independent contractors, depending on the snowfall. So we would like a fleet that's dependable for the front line, and that's why we're asking for a new truck. And once we can get them so they're within reason as far as age, then we would go to having some of them be used in the 2010 or later range for some of the plow trucks. And they also, this, like the 2014 and the 2015 are used every day. Not every day, but they're an everyday truck that also was used to plow and sand.
Mm-hmm. And how about, would this one be also used for towing an excavator and using it for other public works type projects throughout the year?
It would definitely be used throughout the year, but not to tow an excavator. They're not hooked up for, you have to have, basically around here, you'd want a 10-wheeler to tow anything. And you'd have to have a rugged enough trailer, and the weight capacity with the machine would be too much for a plow truck that's basically a 6-wheeler. And also, if you have basically a trailer that's towed on a 5th wheel, again, that would be a specialized horse, which is covered by the tractor previously listed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Jennifer?
So last year, we really had a crisis with our plows. And so it makes sense to get a new, or to upgrade. And so the premise is, make sure your lead vehicle is never going to fail, like brand new or as new as it can be. And then over the next 5 years, fill in or improve the other ones, but not get, would those also be new vehicles in the years to come? Is that the proposal, or those would be?
In the, are you looking at the 52.3 number?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
52.3, 89.6.
Right, that would be for a used vehicle like the PepsiCo converted to.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you put used to. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yep, thanks, we need it.
Deb?
PepsiCo, like the soda,
Yes,
they have trucks that they don't use anymore. I
Right.
didn't know if that was a brand or if that was like the company.
no,
Okay.
Pepsi-Cola.
So, last year we bought two small,
Yeah.
because of the hills, the little narrow roads, especially at the north end. So, this bigger one, what would that be for?
But the,
Because I thought we were going more toward the smaller ones.
right, we purchased a 750 and a Ford 750 and a Ford 550. Even though it's listed as two 650s, it ended up being a 750 and a 550. This would be a Mack to match the 2014, 2015. It's more rugged, but it's not a lot larger dimensionally than the 750, but a little bit. Right now, we have Fords, Freightliners, and Macks.
So it's more powerful, but it's not,
Right, and
not real big.
right, and it's also, it would be an everyday truck. It'd have a regular body with it has a sander attached, a front sander, but it also has a plate you put in the back that dumps, whereas the strictly plow sanding trucks don't have a body that dumps. So you can't use them in everyday road work.
Thank you.
Jen, Jocelyn?
Just really quick. So you currently have a 2014-15 similar in size to what this vehicle would be. You're adding a third, and why would this be the time to make this purchase when you already have two fairly new ones?
Right, so the objective is to get 9 trucks that are 20 years or less old. So we would be phasing out the trucks that are 27, 28 years old.
Okay. Any other comments and questions?
If I could just
Yeah,
real quick.
I have one quick.
Jay?
It's been brought up a couple of times that we maybe could consider hiring contractors. So, to get a reliable contractor, you'd have to enter into a contract where he would come to us regardless. What would a contract like that cost us, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's not something I could answer off the top of my head. However, the difficulty with getting all independent plow contractors is the same. You could offer them, there's always a dollar amount that will get you somebody that will do something legally. However, even with the independents, there's no guarantee on how often they'll plow. So they have to buy all the insurance, they have to buy all the vehicles, they have to commit to be on the town's beck and call whenever there's a snowfall. They are told when to come out. The independents who want to plow privately have a lot more control. So to get 9 or 18 independent plows that they would guarantee the town that they would show up, there would have to be a minimum, in my opinion, flat amount that you would pay them, regardless of whether any snow actually fell on the roads.
Well, yeah,
so-
you're right. So
yeah,
I
so-
was just wondering if you had some nebulous ballpark figure of what that might be costing us.
Right.
Because that's what we're asking for if we're asking for contractors.
Right, no, I do not have a number that, I'm not sure anybody would give you a number that wasn't higher than you would want to pay, because you could be out in one snowstorm or 30.
What did we pay last year for contractors?
I don't know, it was, I don't know what the independents, but they come out only on snowstorms where,
Well, that's not what I'm asking. Last year, what was our plowing bill from contractors?
I can find that out, but I don't know.
Can we,
It would be useful to have some idea. I mean, it's nice to say, oh, yeah, we can go out, shake the bushes, get contractors, and it's going to be less than a truck. Maybe yes, maybe no. So without some firm, well, we won't even have firm numbers, with some ballpark idea of what we're talking about,
good
it's
idea.
kind of a moot
Jay,
question.
sorry to interrupt, but can we table that and let him get back to you and us on that one? And since we're under the gun for time?
I had one
We have to
thing
stop
before.
here. I don't mean to take over, but
Sorry.
I've got to, I promised everyone we'll be out of here by 10. I've got other business on agenda items to cover before, to get you all out of here by 10.
Then
And we're
I'd
gonna have
request
to,
that this
continue
stays on the
right
agenda for the
there.
next meeting.
What's that?
I'd request this stays on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that, yeah, that's what I gotta talk about, and I have 6 minutes to get everyone out of here by 10, so
So, are you-
unfortunately, we're gonna continue with Jay next time on this item.
No, it's fine. I've asked what I want to ask.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
if Rick
Well, I
could
had
just
some-
come up and give us some more information on it, that's fine.
Okay.
I had some more issues on that one.
So Jeff,
So-
what are you saying you want to do next?
Well, right now, we need a motion right now, Ruth, to continue, to continue this item, and I guess we need a motion to, where are we here?
Number 10?
We got it. We're still not through these, so continue number 10, these capital items, and there's just so many of them. Okay,
10,
so
11, and
10, 11, 12, 17, 18, 19, 20 to the next meeting. Need a motion to move
No, we
those?
did 17.
No, we didn't. We still have
Oh,
open
we
ones that we
still-
didn't get to
oh,
in 17.
okay.
This is another problem, so, okay.
I'll make a motion to continue items 10, 11, 12, 17, 18, 19, 20 to the next meeting.
I'll second.
You made, okay, so, just,
We're not done with boards and commissions?
no, we're not.
Just a
We're
few
finished
left.
because
No
we have
problem.
testimony on every one. Okay, so, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Ruth, thank you for running those two, and I'll let you continue with those next meeting for sure. And so I'll apologize, Jay, for having to cut you off.
No, it's no
but I'm
problem,
trying
it's
to
no
get everyone out
problem.
here, And I promised I would. I can't take the hearing now. So the next item on the agenda, I can't, no, you can talk at the end, just open the remarks, and I'll get you to that, okay?
Oh, it's a handout,
So,
okay.
the next item on the agenda that I need to go to is administrative items. The scheduling for the scheduling is that the site visit this coming week is at the high school and the middle school. And I talked to Jerry Larkin, the chairman of the school committee, a day or two ago, and he asked specifically, this is why I need these 5 minutes, he asked specifically, what is it that the budget committee wants to look at when you start at the high school? He said that we have 1 hour. Okay, he said that we have an hour. And he said that we can most likely continue this tour the following week. It wasn't set in stone that we could yet. But he said, and most likely, if we decide we want to see the middle schools the next week or the elementary schools, we probably can in the second week. But we need to decide what we want to look at. So we got like 2 or 3 minutes here, and I'm going to try to give them guidance by email to what we want to look at so that they have an idea. Please, feedback. What do you want to look at the high school?
I would like to see whatever capital expenses that they are requesting for this year that may be included in their budget.
Okay, so, cap expenses in current budget, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Because we have a charge budget, so.
okay. Anyone else? What do you want to look at?
Boiler room,
What?
the boiler room.
Boiler room. Where, the high school?
Yep. Well, both of them ultimately.
Boiler room, high school plus MS. Okay, you're gonna probably get to see high school anyway. Anyone else, what do you want to see?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you, thank you, Greg.
Sorry we couldn't get through all your stuff, Greg.
okay.
You witnessed it real
You're
time.
tough.
Sally, are there certain things you think we should be aware of? Okay.
Just wants to know what you want.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
No, it seems to me that a capital plan is an important piece of what they're looking to do, so if
Okay.
coordinating those, that would be
Okay,
great.
So the basis, I'm gonna write basis for capital plan. Their current capital plan. Cap plan. Okay, does that kind of summarize it?
Yes.
Joe, you happy with that?
Well, I was gonna say, I've already looked at everything I wanted to look at, so I'm not gonna make it Saturday.
All right, so I'm gonna get that back to Mr. Larkin. I'm gonna try to put that in a cohesive sentence and get it back to him, okay? Then, like I said, he indicated to me we have an hour. I don't know why that is, but we have an hour, which is fine.
They have another meeting.
And they have another meeting, that's fine. And
we don't need more, so don't worry.
okay, maybe we have longer. Okay, thank you, Sally. So, and then the next week, maybe we'll have time to go to the middle school. And then the following week is
Elementary.
hopefully going to happen, and the elementary schools or whatever. But you need to, I want everyone to think about what we want to see, because obviously you could spend 3 weeks going through the building, so it's important. I have guidance for this Saturday, that's what's important. Next week is meeting here.
Can I just stop?
Sure.
Can we get a count so we know how many people?
Oh, yeah, please, thank you for that. Who will be at the high school on Saturday?
One of us.
I'm skiing.
I'm working. I'm planning on trying to go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got a good number. Even if someone has the flu, we still got a good number, right? Okay.
I'd just like to know when we walk in and they want to know, are we still waiting for people?
Right. It looks like 6 is the max.
So it'll be one of us.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
Great. And Ruth and Tom's number is on, the cell phone number is on the agenda, so if there's something like, the cell phone's on the agenda, so if there's some kind of a need for that. Okay, great. Thank you for reminding that, Deb. The next week is police fire here, okay? FYI. It's 2 minutes of 10. We got a handout. I don't know what it is. Jan did it, and I wasn't going to speak. We got a handout. And I also want to note to the public and everybody here, I'm moving on to the last agenda item, which is closing remarks, that we received the town audit. The Budget Committee has received a copy of the town audit. That's in closing remarks. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? The time is 1 minute of 10.